Chapter 186. The two of them stared blankly. Who came? But no matter who it was, there was no way to explain this scene. Hide. Li Fan had no other choice. In order to not cause any unnecessary misunderstanding, he could only say that. Humph. Lu Xinan seemed to be somewhat unhappy. Following Li Fan, she had never encountered anything good. This damned guy actually wanted her to hide. Lu Xinan looked left and right and found that the only place to hide was behind the curtains. The curtains were blackout curtains, which was very convenient. Lu Xinan gritted her teeth and hid behind the thick curtains, concealing her body. She was also curious, who would come looking for Li Fan. The door of the study room was slowly pushed open, and a small figure slipped in. Lu Xinan did not know who the person was, but she could hear it. When Li Fan saw this person, his heart beat faster. Brother-in-law. So you're hiding here. Murong closed the door behind her and then bounced to the front of Li Fan. Unexpectedly, she directly sat in Li Fan's arms. Li Fan almost threw Murong out. What are you doing? Please behave yourself. Why should I behave myself in front of my brother-in-law's husband? Murong giggled. Isn't there an old saying that goes, little aunt, brother-in-law's half-wife? Where did you hear this nonsense from? Li Fan did not know whether to laugh or cry. How come I have never heard such nonsense? Then didn't you hear it now? Murong wrapped her arms around Li Fan's neck and said in a sweet voice, Brother-in-law, I haven't seen you for a long time. I miss you. Don't you miss me? You've obviously done that kind of thing with me. Li Fan felt the curtain tremble a bit. Murong also felt it. She immediately turned her head, frowned, and tenderly scolded. Who? Don't make a fuss. It's the wind. Li Fan hurriedly corrected Murong's love words. Also, we didn't do anything between us. It was just a misunderstanding last time. Brother-in-law, husband, why are you in such a hurry? There are no outsiders here. Could it be that my sister is hiding here and eavesdropping? Murong asked with a smile. Li Fan's forehead began to sweat. Although your sister isn't here, there's an even more troublesome woman here. Brother-in-law, husband, don't worry. I won't tell anyone about us. Murong said coquettishly, I like brother-in-law's husband so much. As long as I can be with brother-in-law's husband, I'd rather be a mistress. Xiao Ai, what exactly do you want? Just say it directly. Why do you have to beat around the bush and be secretive? Li Fan decided to be frank with Murong. Otherwise, it would not be a good idea to keep doing this. Brother-in-law, I'm not happy when you talk about me like that. Murong pouted with some grievance. I really like brother-in-law's husband. I want to give birth to a child for brother-in-law's husband. Li Fan almost threw Murong out of the window. How old are you? How can you say such a thing? Li Fan said. If Lu Xinan heard it, how could she let it go? He hoped she wouldn't tell others. It would be best if she didn't even believe it. After all, even he didn't believe it. Murong, let me ask you, what do you like about me? Li Fan couldn't help but ask. Well, Murong seemed to be a little hesitant. Li Fan smiled. Can't say it. Murong, what are you playing at? Just say it. Brother-in-law, how can you say that? I'm just a little girl. How can I have so many motives when I like someone? Firstly, I don't want your money. Secondly, I don't want your power. I simply like you. When you're around, I'll be happy. When you're not around, I'll miss you. When you're happy, I'll be happy. When you're unhappy, I'll be sad. Brother-in-law, tell me, if this isn't called liking someone, then what is? This. Probably. Anyway, Li Fan really didn't know what to say. This Murong had always been weird. Li Fan naturally had a lot of doubts about what she said. Now, she even played such a trick, leaving Li Fan helpless. As the saying goes, women have 3 magic weapons. First, cry, second, and third, hang. Although Murong was still in the first stage, Li Fan believed that with her ability, she could enter the other 2 states at any time. Brother-in-law, I really like you. Murong, just say it directly. What do you want from me? If you want it, I'll give it to you. Brother-in-law, why don't you believe me? Murong became a little anxious. I really like you. Brother-in-law, how can I make you believe me? As Murong AI thought about it, she began to tear off her clothes. Brother-in-law, husband, you can take my body here. This should be enough to prove it. Li Fan was so scared that he quickly pressed down on Murong. This girl really wanted to die. All right, I believe you, I believe you. Li Fan raised the white flag. Second, Miss Murong, please don't act recklessly. Brother-in-law, it's you who doesn't believe me. Li Fan really didn't know what Murong was planning. He could only vaguely feel that this girl was very dangerous. Brother-in-law, you won't lose anything. Just agree to me, okay? Murong muttered in her heart, can't I deal with you, you big pervert? Men were all like this. They obviously wanted to do something wrong even in their dreams, but they still had to pretend that they absolutely couldn't. Hypocritical guy, I'll make you obediently surrender. Pure young body belongs to this lady. Not good. Li Fan's mind was very clear. He glanced at Murong AI, who was acting like a spoiled child. Xiao AI, although I don't know your real purpose, I can vaguely feel that it has something to do with my pure young body. You yourself said that you have a purine body. If you and I dual cultivate, we'll get twice the result with half the effort. Perhaps this is one of the reasons why you approached me. I hope so. You don't understand. Pure young body and purine body are mutually attracted to each other. Murong began to fabricate nonsense, her mouth full of lies. The 2 of us were originally a match made in heaven. I don't believe in fate. Li Fan smiled. Xiao AI, you're quite beautiful, but you have to put your heart in the right place. Hateful. Why don't you believe me? Murong continued to make her last effort, but at this time, footsteps came from outside the door again. The 2 of them looked at each other, and Murong subconsciously looked at the big curtain at the side. That's not safe. Hide behind the bookcase. Chapter 187. This time, Murong AI is obedient. Without hesitation, she hides behind the bookcase. Li Fan breathed a sigh of relief for the time being. At least he wouldn't meet Lu Xinan. But who is the person who came this time? Is there an end to this? Can't the young master read a book for a while? Just when Li Fan is full of complaints, someone knocks on the door of the study room. Li Fan, are you inside? Open the door. Damn, when this girl Murong AI came in, she actually locked the door. Li Fan sincerely admires her. What does this girl want to do? Li Fan. Murong urges him again. Li Fan stretches out his hand and twists the doorknob. He releases his pure true qi and acts on the doorknob. Following Li Fan's action, the doorknob is opened. Murong leisurely walks in. Seeing Li Fan, she first teases him. In order to hide from my father, you even locked the door. If I say I didn't lock it, would you believe me? Li Fan is speaking from the bottom of his heart. Humph, you're lying again. Murong rolls her eyes at Li Fan. Even if you don't like my father, you don't need to lock yourself up. Your father's fighting strength is too strong. I admit defeat. Li Fan finally experienced it. If I can't afford to provoke him, I can afford to hide. I want to be quiet here. An ugly daughter-in-law will eventually have to see her in-laws. Fuck, I'm not an ugly daughter-in-law. Li Fan is very unhappy. When your father comes, this place is basically not in a daze. I've thought about it. Whichever day he stays here, I will go to the billiard hall and live there. What if he doesn't leave? Then I will settle down in the billiard hall. Li Fan pursed his lips. Anyway, I'm fine with it. I'm a man, and the world is my home. What's more, this is Murong's property, and the house was built by Murong's family. I won't fight or snatch, I'll leave with nothing. Leaving with nothing. You make it sound like we're divorced. Missy, we're not married, okay? Li Fan reminded Murong, don't get it wrong. Isn't it just a piece of paper? I can compensate you at any time. You and I are not of legal age to get married, right? The law cannot interfere with my Murong family. Alright, you're awesome. But if you want to get married, I'm not willing. Li Fan said hatefully, Li Fan, will not be a live-in son-in-law. Look, why are you so emotional? It was rare for Murong to soften her tone. I know my father is a bit too much, but he dotes on his daughter. I hope you can understand. After all, you're going to be a father in the future. Anyway, I can't accept it. Li Fan told the truth, your father is too overbearing. Ordinary people can't stand it. Tell me the truth, is it because he doesn't like me? It doesn't matter if I dress like a refined scum or not. He just likes those aristocratic family disciples. He thinks that those aristocratic family disciples are the ones who have received orthodox education. There are countless shining points on them. But you, from a grassroots background, are not an orthodox martial artist. So you'll never be able to enter his eyes. What's wrong with that? I'm the one who chooses the man, not him. Murong overbearingly said, those aristocratic family disciples are not attractive to me. On the other hand, you, a mere high school student, relied on your own hard work to become an expert who had reached the next level. On the contrary, if you were an aristocratic family disciple, I would not be interested in you. So, you're interested in me? Li Fan asked back. Murong snorted and looked at the curtain. My impression of you is only slightly higher than other men. Don't overestimate yourself. One day, I will make all of you look up to me. Li Fan held his head high and his eyes were full of confidence in himself. You have to do what you say. Murong reminded Li Fan, Murong, have seen a lot of people who talk but don't practice. You'll see. Li Fan clenched his fist. This Murong gave him a lot of psychological pressure every day. Was she not afraid that he would collapse? But if you want to grow quickly, I can teach you the martial god technique. Murong once again promoted her martial god technique. This martial god technique's predecessor is the secret technique that I obtained after winning the martial arts tournament, Battle of the Realm. However, under my modifications, this martial god technique was created. After practicing the martial god technique, coupled with your unique talent, I think that even if you are a bit more stupid, you can quickly enter the peak of martial arts. How can this be? Li Fan waved his hand. First, my 7 heroes force has unlimited potential. It is not necessarily worse than your martial god technique. Secondly, learning martial arts must be done step by step. It cannot be done in one go. I have already improved very quickly. If I were to be a bit faster, I'm afraid that I will not be able to suppress the growth of my heart's demon. As his martial arts realm deepened, Li Fan also became more and more clear. He knew when to be anxious and when to be steady. Oh. Murong was a bit surprised. She did not expect that Li Fan had also mastered the martial arts realm to this extent. It seemed that the 5 flowers blooming together was not a coincidence. Perhaps she had really created an amazing martial artist, Li Fan. Since that's the case, Murong seemed to want to say something to Li Fan, but Murong Bo's loud voice came from outside. My baby daughter, where are you? Murong frowned. She originally ran out to hide from her father. Hearing that the other party was looking for her, she immediately wanted to hide. Behind the sofa. Li Fan pointed. Murong slightly hesitated, but still squatted behind the sofa, and then gave Li Fan a look, meaning not to make a sound. Murong Bo's footsteps had already reached the door of the room. He pushed the door and found that it was still locked. Why is there a locked room in this house? As Murong Bo said, the door suddenly flew up with a bang, smashing on a bookshelf next to it. Fortunately, the bookshelf was strong enough, and Li Fan reached out and held the slanted bookshelf. Li Fan, how come it's you? Murong Bo saw Li Fan and frowned. Father-in-law, didn't I say that I wanted to come to the study to read? You have a short memory and forgot about it. Although Li Fan was unhappy, he still cupped his hands and said to Murong Bo, Kid, don't play tricks with me. Do you think I can't feel that you are hiding a few women? As Murong Bo said, he suddenly reached out and directly broke the wooden board of a bookshelf next to him, then crushed it into 3 pieces, threw it out, and went straight to the place where the 3 women were hiding. Chapter 188. Li Fan reached out and caught the piece of wood that hit the curtain. The remaining 2 pieces of wood were caught by Murong and Murong Ai at the same time. But Murong Bo was astute. He probably knew that Li Fan would help. Although he caught the piece of wood, a burst of true chi burst out from the wood and hit the curtain behind. With a swish, the curtain was cut into 2 pieces by the true chi. Lu Xinan's figure was also revealed, wearing a black and white maid dress. Her expression was as awkward as it could be. Murong and Murong Ai looked at each other, not knowing what happened. Why are you guys here? Murong Bo himself was surprised. If Lu Xinan, the maid, was having an affair, he would definitely believe it. But now, with the addition of his eldest and youngest daughters, something was not right. I came to talk to Li Fan. We are engaged, so there's nothing to hide. Murong simply said, and Murong Ai quickly raised her hand. I came to ask brother-in-law some questions about martial arts. When my sister came, I was reading a book at the back. Seeing the 2 of them chatting seriously, I was too embarrassed to come out. If I said I've been cleaning the glass, would you believe it? Lu Xinan dryly laughed twice. The 3 women all had a guilty conscience, so they couldn't say anything. But Murong Bo didn't have this concern. He waved his hand at Lu Xinan. You, a servant, how can you come to the master's room? What a scandal. I've long felt that there was something wrong with you. Are you the woman of this guy? Be polite. Lu Xinan was finally unhappy. This old thing, did he really think he was the emperor? I don't owe you anything. It's my first day at work, and I haven't even received my salary. What right do you have to yell at me? Do you think you're the local emperor? Let me tell you, no matter who you are, you'd better stay put in City A. Such arrogance. In this era, even a servant dares to speak so impudently. Looks like he really needs to be disciplined. Murong raised her right hand as if she was going to teach Lu Xinan a lesson. However, Lu Xinan was just an ordinary person. How could she withstand Murong's power? Just as Murong was about to make a move, Li Fan took a step forward and stood between the 2 of them. I'm really sorry, this is actually my friend. I hope Uncle Murong can give me some face and be lenient. Give you face. When Murong heard this, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. Li Fan, Li Fan, you really think too highly of yourself. Who do you think you are? I, Murong, have roamed the world for so many years. How many people act according to my face? Why should I give face to a nobody like you? No matter what, I'm also your future son-in-law. Son-in-law. Stop dreaming. I've never admitted it. Now it's because my eldest daughter likes you that I let her stay with you temporarily. Do you think this is the reason for you to step into the rich and powerful? Li Fan, let me tell you, don't even think about it in this life. You're a loser, and always will be. In this life, and in the next life too. Don't go too far. Li Fan felt that he had reached the limit of his endurance. Li Fan, my father just said a few words to you. Just listen. Murong repeatedly winked at Li Fan, indicating him to continue to endure. I endure. I'll endure my dick. I can't bear it anymore. Li Fan was already hopping mad. He took off his glasses and threw them on the ground. Murong Bo, I'll fuck your ancestors. Young master has had enough of you. Today it's either you or me. As Li Fan spoke, his figure suddenly leaped forward, leaving an afterimage as he quickly approached Murong Bo. Murong Bo stood there calmly. Just as Li Fan's palm was about to grab Murong Bo's face, a figure suddenly flashed from the side. With a strong gust of wind, he instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. This was a thin figure. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed Li Fan's wrist. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan coldly. His eyes looked like he was looking at a dead man. Li Fan and Jiang Feng looked at each other. Both of them looked at each other. There was no hatred in Li Fan's eyes, but there was sympathy. You too. Don't be impulsive. Murong was taken aback. She wanted to stop them, but it was too late. How dare you sympathize with me? Jiang Feng's eyes flashed with anger. His fingers exerted a bit more strength. It seemed like he wanted to break Li Fan's wrist. However, Li Fan was not a vegetarian. He swayed his body like a pendulum. His other hand's fist carried a rotating force and punched toward Jiang Feng. With a bang, the air seemed to be shattered by Li Fan's fist. The true energy on the fist swept up the dust in the air and exploded in the air. Jiang Feng moved his forehead to the side, avoiding Li Fan's fist technique. He himself was a bit surprised. It had only been a short period of time. Li Fan's strength had actually improved to this level. If this fist landed on his body, he was afraid that with Jiang Feng's strength, he would also be seriously injured. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at in a new light. Could this saying be true? That was also impossible. This improvement was too fast. He had cultivated for a long time before he entered the next level. But this kid only used a month or so, and he had already entered the next level. Without waiting for Jiang Feng to understand, Li Fan's spirit snake comes out of its hole turned the tables. Not only did he dissolve Jiang Feng's blockade, but he also attacked Jiang Feng's throat. Although Jiang Feng was surprised, his hands did not stop moving. He stretched out his right hand and blocked his throat. At the same time, he tried to grab Li Fan's palm. But Li Fan's spirit snake comes out of its hole became more and more unpredictable. He suddenly twisted his hand and once again avoided Jiang Feng's palm. Then, 2 of his fingers were like fangs, digging toward Jiang Feng's eyeballs. It was just a right hand, but it was really like a poisonous snake. It caused a lot of trouble for Jiang Feng. But the title of Murong Bo's last disciple was not just for show. Jiang Feng immediately stretched out his other hand. Both his fingers pointed at Li Fan's wrist and poked. 12 acupoints hands. If these 2 fingers poked, perhaps Li Fan's arm would be crippled. But Li Fan suddenly shouted. The sound of a fierce tiger roaring in the forest shook Jiang Feng until he took 3 steps back. Only then did he stand firm. Such strong true energy, even Jiang Feng could not help but exclaim. Could it be that eldest miss gave her power to Li Fan again? Impossible. Looking at eldest miss's appearance, her martial arts had obviously recovered a lot. Today's battle, I must win. As Murong Bo's disciple, I was actually similar to his shadow. Chapter 189. Jiang Feng had his own conviction. He had to defeat Li Fan. Jiang Feng's 12 acupoint hands was unleashed to the extreme as he attacked Li Fan again and again. Jiang Feng's 12 acupoint hands was the ultimate technique that he had painstakingly cultivated for many years. When executed, it was extremely powerful. Accompanied by the sound of wind, it was specially aimed at the vital acupoints on Li Fan's body. But Li Fan was not to be trifled with. He was no longer the Li Fan that Jiang Feng had fought previously. With a roar, the clothes on his body immediately began to tear apart. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan had already expanded into a 1.9 meters tall burly man. The muscles on his body looked like they were about to explode. Aberration bone changing. When Murong and Jiang Feng saw this scene, their hearts were filled with shock. How could this Li Fan have such talent? This was one of the 3 great martial arts techniques. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan with a hint of jealousy in his eyes. He had trained bitterly for so many years and had yet to comprehend any of the 3 great martial arts techniques. But what capabilities did Li Fan have to actually be able to learn this aberration bone changing? Aberration bone changing was known as the ultimate close combat killing technique. It could greatly enhance one's close combat ability. Most of Li Fan's martial arts were close combat. After obtaining the aberration bone changing, it was undoubtedly like adding wings to a tiger. Furthermore, the aberration bone changing strengthened the body's muscles. His ability to withstand attacks was also more outstanding. Jiang Feng's acupoint hands poked Li Fan's body a few times, but most of the force was dissipated by his muscles. Bear. Mount. Army. Li Fan brought out his strongest combat ability. After strengthening his body, his strength of 6 tigers was close to 7 tigers. The strength of his body was like the surging of the sea. I don't believe that I can't hurt you. Jiang Feng's 2 hands continuously poked at Li Fan's vital acupoints. As for Li Fan, he did not care about Jiang Feng's attacks at all. Bear cavalry soldiers were like this. They abandoned all defense and attacked. Attack, attack. He swung his fist, which suddenly swung up like a pendulum, and smashed towards Jiang Feng's head. Jiang Feng sensed that something was wrong. He gave up on his attack, retracted his hands, and placed them in front of his head. Bang! Li Fan's fist landed on his face, but it was temporarily blocked by Jiang Feng's hands. However, the power of the fist could not be completely blocked. Jiang Feng's hands sank, and then his own hands pressed down on his face, causing his face to contort. Then, driven by the force, his body spun rapidly, and then spun several times in a row. Finally, he smashed into the bookcase next to him, smashing through it. Murong was a little surprised. Her favorite disciple actually failed. Unbelievable. He was well aware of Jiang Feng's strength. How could the disciple that he had personally taught lose to Li Fan, a person who had only joined the sect halfway? But what surprised Murong the most was Li Fan. In such a short period of time, his strength had improved so much, and he even comprehended the abnormality bone-changing technique. His 5 animal frolics allowed him to cultivate a peerless external technique. She had misjudged him back then. If Li Fan had used the abnormality bone-changing technique, Jiang Feng might not have been able to defeat him. Murong, this old fox, calculated in his heart. He couldn't help but sigh, looks like Jiang Feng won't be able to win. His talent is too lacking. Bang! The bookcase on the other side was suddenly smashed open. Jiang Feng stood up from inside, and there were a few pieces of wood stuck in his body. His originally white robe was a little tattered, and his hair was in a mess. His previous confident look was gone. Jiang Feng, you have done your best. Step down. Murong seemed to feel that the atmosphere was a little strange, and immediately reprimanded. But Jiang Feng suddenly raised his head, and his eyes were suffused with a red glow. Li Fan, I want you to die. Jiang Feng stretched out a finger and pointed at Li Fan. His voice was filled with cold killing intent. Unity of heart and demon. Murong was shocked again. In this room, he actually had all three of the martial arts moves. Turning illusion into reality, abnormality bone-changing technique, unity of heart and demon. When did Jiang Feng comprehend this move? Every martial artist would have a heart demon growing in their heart. Some people were controlled by their heart demon and went berserk, turning into a devil with an incomplete mind. And some people defeated their heart demon and transformed into a resolute martial arts master. But some people, and a very small number of people, could control their heart demon and cultivate unity of heart and demon. What is a heart demon? It is a person's own instinct. Relying on instinct to fight can greatly increase a person's strength. Jiang Feng's figure suddenly flashed, and in a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Li Fan. The surrounding books were moved by his figure. A cool breeze swept up the books and brought them up into the air. Under the state of unity of heart and demon, Jiang Feng's speed was so fast that even Murong couldn't see it clearly. This kind of fighting method can only be executed by relying on instinct, and only then can it be resisted. Jiang Feng's acupuncture point hand pierced towards Li Fan's Achilles heel with lightning speed. His pride had suffered the greatest insult, so Jiang Feng, who had entered the state of unity of heart and demon, did not have any mercy, and was prepared to get rid of Li Fan in one move. But speed may be useful for others, but it was useless against Li Fan.
In Li Fan's eyes, no matter how fast Jiang Feng was, he would still be slowed down. Looking at the two fingers that were piercing towards his Achilles heel, Li Fan only laughed, and did not care at all. In an instant, he slapped Jiang Feng's chest. Ursa Major Seal. In the eyes of outsiders, it was as if Jiang Feng had sent himself over to be hit by Li Fan. Jiang Feng's mind flashed with this terrifying ending. He had not even stabbed Li Fan, and his chest was about to burst. The advantage of unity of heart and demon was that he would not let anger drown his reason, and could maintain a correct attack method. Jiang Feng did not hesitate, and immediately retracted his attack, and took 3 steps back. But Li Fan's palm did not hit Jiang Feng, but followed up with a palm, and grabbed Jiang Feng's shoulder. Jiang Feng was stunned, and before he could react, Li Fan had already grabbed his body, and lifted him into the air. Uncle Xiong Pile Driver. As Li Fan spoke, he grabbed Jiang Feng with both hands, and smashed his head towards the ground, as if he was really driving a pile, and smashed it towards the ground. Enough. Murong finally could not sit still. He waved his hand, and a strong wave of true qi swept across Li Fan, sweeping him 2 steps back, and one of his feet left a deep footprint on the ground. Murong did not speak, but the corner of her mouth curled up into a smile. The last time, it was Jiang Feng who almost killed Li Fan by mistake, and she stopped Jiang Feng. She did not expect that so soon. It was Li Fan who almost killed Jiang Feng by mistake, and her father who stopped him. Every dog has its day, and it was just that fast. She really did not choose the wrong man. Murongbo, you actually stopped the 2 of us from fighting? Li Fan finally found a chance to vent.
Chapter 190. If I don't stop you, my disciple's life will be in your hands. Murongbo immediately reprimands. Life and death are decreed by fate, riches and honor are determined by heaven. Li Fan chuckled, I remember that we had a year's appointment. Now it seems that there is no need for this so-called agreement. He lost. Moreover, it is a crushing defeat. With that, Li Fan looks at Jiang Feng who is squatting there. Hero Jiang, who might be a little crazy, didn't you want to tell me what is the real martial arts world? Madman. Jiang Feng stands up. Because Li Fan's father Bear Pile Driver did not hit him, he is not injured and is still full of confidence, but relying on the 11 years of true Qi that I absorbed from Big Miss, I have today's standard. If not for Big Miss, you are nothing. Good. Hearing this, Li Fan's body trembles, you are right. As Li Fan speaks, he places his hand on Murong Ying's shoulder, I will return these 11 years of true Qi to you. Dragon Toad absorbing water, the reverse is Dragon Toad spitting water. This is another use of the pure yang body that Li Fan discovered. As long as the true Qi in his body reverses, he can transfer his true Qi to others. This true Qi was originally obtained from Murong Ying's body. Now that it is sent back, it will not be wasted and is smoothly absorbed by Murong Ying. Without waiting for Murong Ying to resist, a whole 11 years of true Qi has already returned to her body. Li Fan has now lost a large amount of true Qi and his strength has temporarily regressed, falling back to the level of perfection. His face is pale and his internal organs are in pain, but his voice is still loud. This is the true Qi that I cultivated myself. Jiang Feng, let's compete again. Good. Jiang Feng laughs sinisterly and his body suddenly flashes again. After entering the state of heart and demon as one, Jiang Feng's speed was like that of a ghost. In the blink of an eye, he was already behind Li Fan. Then, two fingers continued to pierce into Li Fan's Achilles heel. The back of a person's neck also had an Achilles heel. It was very dangerous. There were many people who practiced the Iron Shirt's Golden Bell Shield. Their defense was extremely high, but this was the only weak point. Once it was broken, their golden bodies would also be broken. Although Li Fan's body was weak and his internal energy was weakened, he was still a person who had opened the God-connecting meridian. Although he couldn't see Jiang Feng's movements clearly, he felt the hairs on his neck tremble. Without hesitation, Li Fan raised his palm and slapped it on his lower abdomen. Ursa Major Seal. Pooh! The palm wind from the Bear King seal immediately pierced through Li Fan's abdomen, and with fresh blood, it once again struck Li Fan's chest. Bang! A palm print landed on Jiang Feng's chest, immediately shattering a few of his ribs. If Jiang Feng hadn't used his true Qi to protect his body in time, in addition to the fact that Li Fan's internal energy was slightly weaker and his own abdomen had weakened a little, the palm wind would have directly pierced through Jiang Feng's heart. Even so, Jiang Feng's body still flew up high and fell on the sofa beside him. He sat there dispiritedly, unable to move. His heart had suffered such a strong attack, and it would take a while for him to recover. And Li Fan also spat out a mouthful of blood. He half squatted on the ground and used his true Qi to seal the blood vessels on his lower abdomen to prevent himself from losing too much blood and dying. This move caused both sides to lose. As the saying goes, injuring 1,000 enemies, injuring 800. Although he had severely injured Jiang Feng, Li Fan himself had also suffered a great deal of damage. So, what else do you have to say? Li Fan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Jiang Feng with a smile. If you're not satisfied, let's fight again. Jiang Feng didn't even have the strength to speak, and Murong Bo's face was also pale. He really didn't expect that Li Fan, who had reached the point of perfection, would actually injure his beloved disciple. This Li Fan was really ruthless. He actually used a move that would cause both sides to lose. Even if it was Jiang Feng, he probably had no way to predict such a brutal move. He was beaten to this state, and would not be able to recover for at least half a month. Murong Bo, I don't owe your Murong family anything now. Li Fan said loudly, even if I, Li Fan, can't beat you, I will risk my life to fight with you. Murong Bo, although I am from a grassroots background, have no money and no background, but let me tell you, don't look down on a youth. Especially a man. At this moment, Murong Bo couldn't say a single word. Being stung by Li Fan's gaze, he could only swallow his saliva. Dad, Shawa AI, tonight my fiancé might not be feeling well. You guys go back first, I need to treat his injury. Murong Ying suddenly ordered them to leave. Xiao Ying. This man, what do you like about him? Don't tell me he doesn't have any flaws. His flaws are as many as the stars. Murong Ying said lightly. Then what about his good points? Murong AI couldn't help but ask. His good points are as few as the sun. Then you still like him? Murong Bo immediately asked. Because when the sun comes out, the stars disappear. Murong Ying's words made Murong Bo speechless. Let's go home. Men, carry Jiang Feng back. This old fox flicked his sleeve, turned around and walked away. Two bodyguards walked in and carefully carried Jiang Feng away. After they left, Li Fan glanced at Murong Ying. What you said just now, is it true? What did I say just now? Murong Ying looked at Li Fan as if nothing had happened. That, the stars and the moon. What stars and moon? You've read too many interstellar novels. Murong Ying turned around. You've gone too far today. I'm very angry. I won't talk to you today. Before she left, she instructed Tai Zhu, give him the heart protection pill, let him take it. Yes, eldest Mississippi, Tai Zhu took out a golden pill and handed it to Li Fan. This woman, I really don't understand. It's time for her to take the pill. Li Fan felt that Murong and her family were all crazy. Son-in-law. This heart protection pill was accidentally obtained by eldest Miss when she was traveling in the pugilistic world. Tai Zhu lowered his voice and said to Li Fan, this heart protection pill can save lives. It can almost be said to have the effect of bringing the dead back to life. Eldest Miss only had 2 of them, she was never willing to eat them. Fuck, it's so expensive, then I won't eat it. Li Fan pushed the pill away, but Tai Zhu stuffed it into his hand. Son-in-law lost too much of his true qi tonight, and was seriously injured. If you don't adjust your breathing as soon as possible, leaving behind a small problem is a big problem. Son-in-law, quickly take the pill, I'll go clean up the house. After saying this, Tai Zhu turned around and went back to work. Although the study room was also a mess, at least it was quiet now. Li Fan glanced at the golden pill in his hand and hesitated for a long time. Chapter 191. Heart protection pill, this is a good thing. Li Fan looked at the golden pill in his hand, hesitated for a long time, and did not have the heart to eat it. Tai Zhu shouldn't be lying, so this pill must be very valuable. Moreover, if he could really come back to life, there would definitely be a time when it would be useful. Right now, he only suffered a small injury, and although he lost a lot of blood, it should not be a problem after some recovery. Li Fan thought for a long time, and finally decided not to eat this pill. He tore a page from the magazine beside him, carefully wrapped the pill, and then put it into his small pocket. My life is tough. Li Fan had already used his true qi to seal a few of the blood vessels above his wound, so that the blood would not flow out. Although the true qi had pierced through his lower abdomen, it only caused some pinhole injuries, and the impact would not be too serious. Li Fan sat cross-legged on the ground, while using his qi to heal his wound, he began to restore his true qi. Today, he almost consumed half of his life, and in a fit of anger, not to mention giving Murong 11 years of true chi, he also seriously injured himself. The emptiness of his true chi made Li Fan feel that his heart demon was constantly threatening him. If he did not restore his true chi soon, he was afraid that his heart demon would become even more rampant. Kill him, kill them. Murong's family should all die. That voice crazily lingered in his ears, disturbing Li Fan's mind. Shut up. Li Fan reprimanded, and cleared his mind, so that he could maintain absolute clarity. He must not let his heart demon take control of him, so that his hard work in cultivation would all be wasted. Li Fan operated his power, letting the remaining true chi circulate in his body. The true chi of the 7 heroes' force circulated in his body according to the big and small cycle, and at the same time, passed through the spirit-connecting meridian. This meridian seemed to open a shortcut for Li Fan, allowing his true chi to circulate even faster. Every time it circulated, Li Fan could feel his true chi quickly recovering. Although energy was conserved, true chi was somewhat special. As long as the Jinqi in one's body was not completely exhausted, one could use the circulation of Jinqi to nourish qi. Li Fan had once wondered what true qi was. It was invisible and odorless, an existence that could not be explained by science. But according to Li Fan's own description, this true qi was more like a type of energy in his body. If the human body wanted to move and work, it needed energy to maintain it. Usually, humans relied on absorbing food and water to obtain energy, but Jinqi was a little special. Not only could it be absorbed from food, but it could also be absorbed from the circulation of Jinqi and strengthened. The meridians were like a core reactor. The circulation of true qi was like a nuclear reaction, or a rotating windmill, relying on these movements to generate more energy. The dantian was like a battery that stored the energy. When needed, it could be mobilized. Although Li Fan had released too much true qi at once, he still had the power of his 7-gallon force in his body. At the same time, after sending away Murong Ying's 11 years of true qi, Li Fan felt that his true qi seemed to have become purer. It seemed that after returning Murong Ying's true qi, it actually refined the true qi in his body. Now, the true qi in Li Fan's body was more cohesive. To describe it, the density seemed to be higher than before. To Li Fan, this was undoubtedly a very good news. It was really a blessing in disguise. As he pondered, he continued to quickly recover his true qi. In the blink of an eye, he did not know how long he had sunk into the state of cultivation. When Li Fan opened his eyes again, he felt extremely hungry. The surrounding sky was already bright. Did I practice for the whole night? Li Fan stretched his waist. Other than being hungry, he felt refreshed. It was as if his whole body had been reborn. So comfortable. Li Fan happily said, "This is much more comfortable." The wound on Li Fan's lower abdomen had already healed by more than half. He did not need to use his true qi to seal it, and it was no longer bleeding. Moreover, the true qi in his body had also recovered to its previous level. It had reached the next level. The strength of 6 tigers. To be able to recover to this level in just one night, he was truly a genius. Just as Li Fan was secretly praising himself, Tai Zhu just happened to push open the door and entered. Seeing that Li Fan had woken up, he was immediately pleasantly surprised. "Son-in-law, you're awake. You must be hungry. I'll go prepare a meal for you." "Thank you. I haven't eaten for the whole night. I'm indeed a bit hungry." Li Fan thought about how he had been busy venting his anger on Murong and did not eat well. Now that his appetite had returned, he could have a good meal. "Son-in-law. How is it just one night? You haven't eaten for 3 days and 3 nights. 3 days and 3 nights. Li Fan was somewhat surprised. It's actually been that long. "Yes, son-in-law. Taiju nodded his head, but looking at son-in-law's appearance, it shouldn't be a big problem. And, it's no big problem. Then go and get me something to eat. Li Fan politely requested Taiju. After getting along for so long, he had never treated Taiju as a servant but as a good friend. All right, son-in-law. Please wait a moment. Taiju walked backwards and left. Not long after, he brought breakfast for Li Fan. After eating, Li Fan recovered some energy. Rubbing his somewhat sore legs, he stood up and took a deep breath. This breath of oxygen entering his lungs was like injecting fuel into an engine. Li Fan felt as if his internal organs had come to life, and his true qi was circulating more smoothly. Heaven swallowing toad. Li Fan tried to circulate his true qi to the limit. He stretched out his left hand, and a ball of silver true qi appeared in his palm, slowly forming a small silver bowl. This kind of unique power, other than Li Fan, no one else really had it. Even if it was Murong, seeing how exquisite Li Fan's control of true qi was, she would also be extremely jealous. Li Fan felt that his true qi was very pure. This time, his toad strike technique was even purer. Both of his feet bounced on the ground, and his whole body immediately jumped up. Following that, both of his feet were directly attached to the ceiling, and he stood upside down looking down. True to Ursa Major Seal. Li Fan struck the ground upside down. When the palm wind pressed on the ground, the floor immediately collapsed, and a deep palm print appeared. Sure enough, now that the true qi in his body was pure, his strength and experience had also improved a little. Li Fan felt that his current strength of 6 tigers was even more ferocious than the previous strength of 6 tigers. For example, it was like 6 caddies of cotton and 6 caddies of iron. Although the weight was the same, the difference in quality was too big. Similarly, if you hit people with 6 caddies of cotton and hit people with 6 caddies of iron, there would really be 2 different effects. Li Fan gently landed on the ground, just as Murong pushed open the door and entered. Chapter 192. Are you alright? Murong saw that Li Fan was alive and kicking. Her beautiful face was slightly surprised. According to the extent of Li Fan's injury, without recuperating for 10 days to half a month, he should not be able to move freely. But now, he was alive and kicking. How did he look like a person who had been injured? Murong began to speculate in her heart. Was it because of Li Fan's pure young body that he could recover so quickly? If that was the case, wasn't it too convenient for him to have a pure young body? It's okay. But after I recover, I should go to school. Li Fan moved his body and said, but I haven't been to school for so many days. The school won't find trouble with me, right? The principal and Chang Chuanxi, those 2 guys, have been thinking about how to kick me out of the school every day. Now that there is an opportunity in front of them, they would be overjoyed. Don't worry. I've helped you apply for leave. Murong comforted Li Fan. I said that your hemorrhoids relapsed and needed a second operation. Fuck. What hemorrhoids relapsed and the wound exploded? Li Fan's head was full of cold sweat. Can't this Murong think of a more reliable excuse? Will they believe this reason? I'm the director. They have to believe what I say, whether they believe it or not. Murong Ying's words were very overbearing. But her overbearing words were reasonable. Li Fan could not find any fault with it. All right. Anyway, help me apply for leave. If he did not apply for leave, he would really be finished. The principal and Chang Chuanxi would definitely not let him off easily. But these 2 days, my classes have been delayed. I have to make up for it. When Li Fan thought of having to study, he felt a bit of a pain in the ass. That's your problem. What about Zhang Feng? How is he recently? Li Fan was concerned about his opponent. He felt that the fate between him and Jiang Feng had not ended yet. It was obvious that Jiang Feng was a petty person. He had defeated Murong Bo in front of him, so he would definitely not let him off. He's still lying in the hospital. Murong Ying took a second look at Li Fan. There are many fractures on his body. I'm afraid he won't be able to get up for at least half a month. That's good. You didn't lose out. Li Fan was happy and beamed with joy, which made Murong Ying roll her eyes. Look at you. Isn't it just defeating Jiang Feng? Are you satisfied just like that? Of course I'm satisfied. After all, I couldn't beat him before. Li Fan waved his palm and said, "What do you think? I told you that my 7 gallant fists can definitely sweep the world. Don't be too confident." Murong Ying gave Li Fan a blow. Don't forget that Jiang Feng isn't a real master. However, he has comprehended the unity of heart and demon. I'm afraid his future is limitless. This person grew up with me. He's very petty. You have to be careful. Counter soldiers with arms and water with earth. Li Fan curled his lips. If he dares to come, I dare to slap him. As a martial artist, if someone wants to compete with me, I won't even have the time to laugh. You weren't like this when you first learned martial arts. Now you're more and more like a martial arts fanatic. Hee hee, I'm embarrassed by your praise. Who's praising you? Narcissist. We're already an old couple. Why are you still shy? Didn't you say that I'm your son? Yes, you're right. Murong Ying nodded. She actually acknowledged Li Fan's words. You're my son. That's why it's shortened to 2 words, my son. Li Fan blinked his eyes. Fuck, when did Murong Ying learn to be so eloquent? This bickering skill has improved. Awesome. Awesome. Since you're fine, I'm relieved. Don't be impulsive in the future. Don't use that suicidal move again in the future. That move wasn't powerful enough. Li Fan was full of confidence. I think it's very useful. Hurting others hurts yourself. That's not the style of martial arts. Murong Ying reminded, the original purpose of martial arts is to strengthen the body. If it's to ruin your body, then your path of martial arts is wrong. Alright, I understand. Li Fan didn't argue. He knew that in this aspect, Murong Ying was definitely more experienced than him. Next time, I won't use this move. That's great. It's almost time. You should go to class. Murong Ying looked at the lively Li Fan and sighed with emotion in her heart. She then turned around and left the messy study room. Li Fan looked at the bookshelves lying on the ground, as well as the scattered books, and couldn't help but feel a little guilty. No matter what, these books were Murong Ying's treasures. Since he messed them up, Murong Ying's heart should be quite distressed. Li Fan looked at the scattered books. His mind couldn't help but recall the scene when he fought with Yan Kai. At that time, Yan Kai stretched out his hands and released the move of inner Tai Chi, lifting up the surrounding cars. Although he didn't know inner Tai Chi, the sky-swallowing toad should be able to achieve the same effect, right? Li Fan stood in the middle of the study room. He took a deep breath and let the oxygen in his body burn. The existence of oxygen made Li Fan feel a kind of power. He mobilized the true qi in his body and released it through his hands. The true qi was like a small hand, grabbing onto the books in the surroundings. However, Li Fan only sent out 10 streams of true qi and only grabbed 10 books. This was not enough. He needed more. Li Fan divided the 10 strands of true qi into 2, 2 into 3, and finally into 10 strands. Li Fan released 100 true qi, but this required too much energy to control. Li Fan vaguely felt a slight pain in his head. Too much true qi had been split, a total of 100, grabbing onto the surrounding books. However, there were scattered books everywhere. It wasn't just 100 books. At the same time, Li Fan controlled the bookshelves and let them return to their original positions. Try again. Li Fan then began to let the innate qi disperse, 1 into 2, 2 into 3. A total of 300 strands of innate qi were released, and all the scattered books on the ground were picked up, but Li Fan felt as if his body was about to be torn apart. He felt a pain in his nerves. 3 bookshelves fell to the ground, shaking the bookshelves beside them and scattering even more books. If this continued, he would definitely be in danger. However, Li Fan was not convinced. He definitely had a way to make himself stronger. Wasn't it just releasing 300 true qi? What was that? He didn't believe that with the spring breeze blowing and the war drums beating, who in this world would be afraid of who? Li Fan raised his hands, and a lot of red blood appeared in his eyes. Give me more. 10 in a lifetime. Chapter 193. Li Fan had divided a total of 3,000 strands of true qi. His body was originally on the verge of collapse, but at this moment, for some unknown reason, it glowed with a new life force. There were many bloody wounds on his body. They were all torn apart by too much true qi. However, these true qi were exchanged for new ones. Every time it was rapidly consumed, new ones would grow out. Time and time again, it made Li Fan's body change. Li Fan's strength reached a new peak. He felt as if his body had been remolded once again. A lot of his skin and flesh were torn apart. The old skin and flesh fell to the ground along with the true qi, like a snake shedding its skin. Snake shedding its skin, Li Fan seemed to have understood something. His 7-hero fist had a move called the snake strike technique, which completely imitated the posture of a snake. Right now, the structure of his body seemed to have reached one with the snake. Aberration, bone changing, bone washing. New skin and flesh were constantly growing on his body. 10 minutes later, Li Fan had shed all of his skin and a new body stood there. The wounds on his body had also been healed. Every part of his skin and flesh was very new, but it was not the kind of skin and flesh that had not been tempered. The coordination on it was very perfect, suitable for battle. When Li Fan once again transferred 3,000 strands of true qi, although it was still a little difficult, it was no longer too strenuous. It was like carrying a sack. As long as he carried it a few more times, his physical strength would be able to adapt to it. Li Fan stretched out his hands, and 3,000 strands of true qi grabbed onto every book around him. If an outsider saw this scene, they would definitely be very surprised. That was because thousands of books were revolving around Li Fan's body, as if they were little fairies. These little sprites quickly wandered away, and the rows of bookcases also fell back to their original positions. Li Fan's fingers constantly moved, returning the books to their original positions. This feeling was really too good. The 3,000 strands of true qi were flexible and free, constantly returning the books to their original positions. He flicked his hands and watched as every book returned to its original position. When the last book landed on the shelf, Li Fan finally heaved a sigh of relief. Li Fan felt as though a tide was receding within his body, making Li Fan feel slightly empty. He had released too much energy just now, and he almost couldn't hold it in. However, the snake-shedding skin technique had saved him and allowed his strength to improve. Li Fan sensed that his current strength was around 7 tigers. Although he was still very far away from the 9 tigers and 2 dragons, at least he was getting closer. Li Fan slightly recovered his true qi. His pure young body was very convenient for him to recover his true qi. In the span of a few breaths, his strength had recovered quite a bit, and the feeling of emptiness in his body was much better. It was as if he had eaten 70% full. The clothes are all gone too. It's better not to use the aberration bone swap technique in the future. Li Fan's aberrant bone swap had torn a set of clothes again. He returned to his room, found his school uniform, and put it on. Looking at this blue and white school uniform, Li Fan felt a little nostalgic. Sometimes, he really forgot that he was still a high school student. After he put it on, he directly jumped out of the window. His body was abnormally agile. With a somersault in the air, he landed steadily on the ground. After the snake-shedding skin technique, Li Fan's qigong had also improved a lot. When he landed on the ground, his body did not move at all, and his calves did not even shake. In the past, if Li Fan wanted to use such a good qigong, he would need to fill his body with true qi. Until today, he did not do so, and instead maintained such a stable degree. This was something that Li Fan would not even dare to think about normally. The improvement of inner strength was what every martial artist wanted. Li Fan also wanted it, especially the improvement of the purity of inner strength, and not just the strength. This made Li Fan even more happy. This way, the distance between him and Muronging was getting closer and closer. Sooner or later, he would move unhindered in the world and become a powerful martial arts master. Now, Li Fan's body did not need him to actively mobilize his true qi. This true qi was like the blood flowing in his body. With every beat of Li Fan's heart, it automatically filled his body. Li Fan gently jumped forward, and his body jumped more than 3 meters away. His body seemed to have been remolded, and it was very easy. This made Li Fan somewhat enjoy his new body. This kind of body was really useful, and it was much more coordinated than his previous body. Li Fan felt that with his current body, it was easier to do those actions that he could not do in the past. Li Fan ran along the side of the road, and his body did a somersault in the air. Then, his waist continued to rotate, and both his legs kept kicking out. With just one jump, he had already kicked out 5 times in a row. Usually, if Li Fan wanted to kick out 5 times in a row, it would be difficult to do so without strengthening his true qi to the extreme. At that time, it was like using his true qi as a rope, and he was pulling himself like a puppet. But now that he could easily use these moves, it was much more convenient for Li Fan. He could now easily use more external martial arts moves. It's so cool. Li Fan was very happy. In the past, he could always feel the limit of his body, but now, the limit had been broken. In the past, when he fought with others, the enemy's moves would slow down in his eyes. But his own speed would also slow down, and there was no way for him to react better. But now, Li Fan could deal with it in more ways. With the breakthrough of his body, Li Fan also became bolder. He started to climb up from the side of a building. With a jump, he landed on the air conditioner on the 2nd floor. Then, with another step, he rose another 2 or 3 meters. With one hand on the balcony of a window, he rose another 3 meters. Li Fan's body climbed lightly on the wall of the building. After a few ups and downs, he had already reached the top of the building. This building was only 7 stories high, but only Spider-Man could stick to the wall. After he landed on the top of the building, the opposite building was about 10 meters away. But this was not a problem for Li Fan. He ran from this side of the building, and in 2 or 3 steps, he had already reached the other side of the roof. With one foot on the edge of the building, his body suddenly jumped out. Li Fan jumped more than 5 meters away, and there was still half the distance between him and the opposite building. But this was not a problem for him. He suddenly opened his arms, and then his feet stepped back. True qi erupted from the soles of his feet and kicked in the air. At the same time, his body used this burst of energy to leap forward, somersaulting in the air like a double jump in a game. He somersaulted forward again, leaping another 5 meters before landing on the opposite building with ease. Chapter 194. This kind of feeling made Li Fan somewhat addicted. There was still a distance from the school, so he could continue playing for a while. Li Fan was preparing to continue running on the roofs and walls, but at this moment, a figure dressed in black suddenly appeared on the building next to him. This was a black tight suit, which accentuated the beautiful figure of a girl. Her figure was definitely hot enough, and the leather suit accentuated her curves incisively and vividly. Her long legs and small buttocks basically made men unable to move their eyes away. However, Li Fan felt that this girl might be a bit of a chinibu, because not only did she use a cat mask to cover her face, but she also combed her short hair neatly on top of her head and wore a cat ear headband. Not only that, behind her but was dragging a cat tail, swaying along with her running. Fuck, how much does she like cats? And as she ran, the bell necklace on her neck would also make a light jingling sound, as if a kitten had arrived. Although there was the sound of the bell, every time her feet landed, there was no sound at all. If not for seeing her graceful figure, he would really think that she was a small wild cat. And the other party had clearly noticed him. This cat girl swayed her tail, and her eyes narrowed into a crescent moon, looking at him. She suddenly raised a middle finger at him, and then jumped towards the opposite building. The opposite building was more than 20 meters away from here. This building had 7 floors, and the opposite building had 15 to 16 floors. However, this was not a problem for the cat girl. Her body continuously spun a few rounds in the air, her tail constantly swaying, and in a parabola, she landed on the opposite 3rd floor. But her qigong was indeed heaven-defying. After falling such a distance, she easily grabbed the window on the 3rd floor, and then using both her hands and feet, she easily climbed to the 15th floor. This woman's qigong talent was definitely maxed out, and she actually expressed ridicule to him. I can't lose to a chinibu. Li Fan clenched his fists, and his body was almost stuck to the eaves of the building. Toad strike, spirit toad soars. Li Fan's hands and feet were like cannons, bursting out with powerful true qi, pushing Li Fan's body into the air. The edge of the floor was shaken by the true qi fluctuations, some cracks appeared on it, and some small gravel fell down. Meanwhile, Li Fan's body shot out like a cannonball. In the blink of an eye, he shot over 10 meters into the air. This leap shocked the cat girl who had already climbed to the roof of the opposite building. However, this was not the end. Li Fan, who was in mid-air, spun his body once again. Then, his legs faced downwards and suddenly bounced, as though he was about to leap into the sky. Deer strike art, divine deer ascends to heaven. Li Fan's left foot stepped on empty air, while his right foot stepped on true energy ripples. In Pang Nyang's eyes, the man's figure was like a divine deer ascending to the heavens, soaring into the clouds. This man's qigong was out of the ordinary. Even a qigong expert like him could not help but be surprised. Li Fan jumped at least 15 meters high. This was a total of 25 meters, a full jump of 8 floors. At the same time, Li Fan's body turned freely in the air, then he spread his body and once again stepped on the air. Black toad crossing water. Like a cannonball, Li Fan quickly bounced towards the roof of the opposite building in a straight line direction. Li Fan's distance was already very high. Although he would still fall when he was in the air, the distance of 20 meters was quickly crossed and he successfully landed on the top of the building on the ground. After landing, Li Fan did not forget to give a thumbs up to the dumbfounded cat girl. Then, he turned his thumb and pointed to the ground. Hang. Insignificant skill. Peng Nyang was somewhat angry. She turned around, shook her butt and jumped towards the other roof. Li Fan was not willing to fall behind. He also had a competitive heart. If he was defeated by a mere Chinibu, where would he put his face in the future? Muronging would laugh at him to death. For his own dignity, he must win this time. Li Fan took his light steps and chased after Pang Nyang. The two of them were like parkour, jumping here and there on the roofs, chasing each other. Li Fan could not help but admire that woman's qin gong was indeed good. This forest of tall buildings was like a forest that belonged to her, allowing her to run freely without any obstacles. If it was not for him being reborn and breaking through the limits of his body, he might not be able to catch up to her. Such a woman, where did she come from? Her qin gong talent was completely maxed out. She could be considered as the person with the best qin gong that Li Fan had ever seen. Even Muronging did not have such a beautiful qin gong. Li Fan was a little curious about the identity of the other party. To have such a high level of qin gong, who was it? In the pugilistic world, she should be a #1 figure. Sometimes, the pugilistic world felt big, but sometimes it felt especially small. Although Li Fan had amazed Pang Nyang with his 2 leaps, when it came to qin gong, Pang Nyang was still better. After a few minutes, Li Fan was already out of sight. Seeing that there was not much time left, he could not fool around anymore. Thus, he leaped up and dashed towards the direction of the school. When Li Fan arrived at the school, he saw the concerned gazes of his classmates, and his heart was a little anxious. Li Fan, does your anus still hurt? His desk mate, Bai Lin Luo, sincerely asked Li Fan. Li Fan was quite speechless, and only glared at little Four. You're the one who asked for leave, saying that your hemorrhoids broke out. Bai Lin Luo emphasized, I heard that yellow, white, red, it's everywhere. I'm just worried about you. Can you do the horse dance every day? Will your hemorrhoids split open again? Why don't you just sit down, and I'll let you have my butt pad. It's ergonomically good for the butt. Get lost. Li Fan almost broke down. What the hell was this? Muronging too, couldn't she come up with a reasonable reason? Why did she have to come up with some hemorrhoid explosion? What the fuck? Chang Chuanxi looked at Li Fan, gloating. Li Fan, if your butt is uncomfortable, go to the infirmary and lie down. I'm fine, thank you for your concern, Teacher Chang. Li Fan was very depressed, but he could not refute. After all, this was the reason he asked for leave for a few days. If he refuted, wouldn't he be exposed? Li Fan, it's understandable that young people are hot-tempered. But for the sake of your future, you'd better change your temper and listen to what the teacher says. Chang Chuanxi would not let go of this opportunity, and continued to ridicule Li Fan. The teacher and the school are doing this for your own good, don't have too much resistance. Oh yeah, you haven't been to school these few days, can you keep up with the progress? The final exam is not far away. If you can't pass, I'll have to send you to another school. I can't bear to leave you. Chapter 195. Chang Chuanxi's pretentious act was even better than his singing. He couldn't bear to part with her. He couldn't bear to part with her. In this school, there were a few people who couldn't wait for him to get out. This Chang Chuanxi was definitely one of them. If he wasn't taught a lesson for a day, he would feel like he could go to heaven. In short, you better pray for your own good fortune. This exam is very important, everyone must pay attention. You will be entering grade 12 soon, and everyone will be sprinting. Thousands of soldiers and horses are fighting for this single plank bridge. If you can't cross it, then your future days will be tough. Teacher Chang, I think that even if the college entrance exam doesn't go smoothly, we shouldn't put so much pressure on everyone. Li Fan immediately straightened his back and said, although thousands of soldiers and horses are fighting for the single plank bridge, but even if we can't cross it, there are still many other paths that we can take. Why does the school always like to force everyone into a corner? If we can't pass the college entrance exam, then we won't be able to live anymore. Li Fan, watch your words. What you're saying now sounds more like a reactionary statement. Chang Chuanxi looked at Li Fan unhappily. After not seeing him for 3 days, he felt much more refreshed and felt that the air in the school was much cleaner. Now that he was here, the school was filthy again, and he even wanted to use fallacies to confuse people and disturb them. Since the college entrance exam was reinstated, this is the only way for all of us to change our destiny. Among everyone here, how many of you are second-generation rich, and how many of you are from a government family? Many of you are from ordinary poor families. If you want to change your destiny, the college entrance exam is the only way. The college entrance exam is just a way. I'm not against everyone going to university. Li Fan emphasized his own words, university can broaden our horizons and increase our experience. But we shouldn't fight to the death for this so-called college entrance exam. Look at Deng Siwei, she has been tortured by this college entrance exam to the point of being psychopathic. Who's psychopathic? Deng Siwei didn't expect to be implicated even though she was lying down, but the surrounding students all nodded and agreed with Li Fan's words. Li Fan, don't slander your own classmates. Chang Chuanxi scolded, if you don't like the college entrance examination, then drop out. Don't affect other students who are wholeheartedly preparing for the college entrance examination. You don't have money or power, yet you still dream of changing your own fate. What a joke. Raising a student like you is really a failure of education. Teacher Chang, I'm afraid I don't agree with you on this point. Li Fan chuckled. I think it's a failure of education to produce an abnormal top student like Deng Siwei. Deng Siwei almost fainted from anger, but she didn't dare to provoke Li Fan. Enough. If you don't want to listen, then get out. You have no right to speak here. I'm the teacher. Chang Chuanxi was infuriated by Li Fan. This scumbag student must be kicked out of the school. That's all I have to say. Everyone, focus on the lesson. Don't make a fuss. Li Fan gestured to his left and right before resuming his horse stance as if nothing had happened. Humph. Chang Chuanxi slammed the door and left. Little Four Eyes couldn't help but push up his spectacles as he asked Li Fan. Why are you trying to provoke Chang Chuanxi today? Just now, my legs were a little sore from the horse stance, so I stood up and moved a little. Li Fan casually said. You'll deepen the hatred between you and him. The hatred between us isn't just a day or two. What's there to be afraid of? Li Fan said without fear, since everyone doesn't dare to fight against power, then let me do it. I don't believe that in such a big school, there's no one who is willing to make decisions for the students. How can we let a person like Chang Chuanxi act like a tyrant above our heads every day? No, I have to persuade you. As your good brother, your military advisor, even if you're angry, there are some words that I have to say to you. Bai Lin Luo was about to start his teaching mode again, but at this moment, Liao Wushuang pushed the door open and entered. Bai Lin Luo's eyes immediately lit up as he turned his head and focused on this beautiful teacher. Don't you have something to say to me? Say it. Li Fan nudged Bai Lin Luo, but was ignored by Bai Lin Luo. Little Four Eyes. Don't mess around, we're in English class. Fuck your uncle. Li Fan was very helpless. This Little Four Eyes only has eyes for Liao Wushuang. Speaking of Liao Wushuang, although she is a bit beautiful and has a big chest, what kind of magic does she have to make Bai Lin Luo so infatuated with her? While Li Fan and the others were enjoying the beautiful teacher's class, on the other side, Principal Hua Jingyi, with his Mediterranean hairstyle, was confidently patting his chest to the board of directors. Ladies and gentlemen of the board of directors, you can rest assured. I, Hua Jingyi, have been teaching for more than 40 years and have rich teaching experience. Moreover, I have summarized a new model that is absolutely suitable for our private number 2 middle school. It can double the enrollment rate of our number 2 middle school. Murong Ning and the rest of the board of directors were sitting in front of Principal Hua Jingyi, listening to his speech. Today is the day of the reorganization, and if more than half of the board of directors voted for Hua Jingyi, then he can be the next principal.
Therefore, how to gain the favor of these directors was what Hua Jingyi had been thinking about day and night, and he had spent a lot of time researching. At least 4 of the board of directors had received his gifts. As for the remaining 5, as long as he can satisfy 2 of them, he will be the winner. And what makes these board of directors happy is making money. How can number 2 middle school make money? Other than collecting tuition and miscellaneous fees, they must continue to increase the enrollment rate. When the enrollment rate increases, the students' parents will spend their hard-earned money on the school to exchange for the opportunity for their students to enter number 2 middle school. In short, the enrollment rate was the foundation of number 2 high school. It is also the magic weapon for him to get promoted. Old Hua, what do you think? Tell me. An old board of directors who had received Hua Jingyi's gift smiled at him and encouraged him to continue. Hua Jingyi immediately became confident and spoke frankly with assurance. Education, this is what we in China have been emphasizing for the past 5,000 years. From the time Mencia's mother moved 3 times, Confucius reopened the school, all the way until the college entrance examination was reinstated in the 70s. So many years have passed, and our ancient people have passed on countless valuable educational experiences to us. Especially the college entrance examination strategy in recent years, it made us understand that scores are the key to the student success. And how to increase the student scores is the problem that I have been thinking about for so many years. In these 2 years, I finally figured it out and started to conduct some experiments. I have indeed made some progress. What method? Pressure method. Hua Jingyi waved his hand and said in high spirits, there is a move in the ancient art of war, fight with your back to the river. And it is the same for the students now. The college entrance examination is like a battlefield. It is a tough battle.
Chapter 196. Those soldiers on the battlefield always have the military police following behind them. Why? It's to give the soldiers pressure so that they can charge bravely and kill the enemy. Hua Jingyi waved his hands and spoke incisively, spittle flying everywhere. Look at our students now, what have they become? Lax, lazy, and unmotivated. What we need to give them is pressure. Kids nowadays eat well, wear well, and have good genes. Their conditions are so much better than ours and they have so much potential for improvement. As long as we can give them more pressure and more supervision, they will be able to improve their results. This way, their results will improve, and the enrollment rate of our second high will naturally not be a problem. With my many years of teaching experience, I believe that as long as I officially start using this pressure method, I can guarantee that everyone's results will improve by 10% or even 20%. Hua Jingyi's words caused the directors to start discussing and whispering to each other. Hua Jingyi saw that they seemed to have loosened up and continued, kids nowadays are living too comfortably. The school, the parents, and even the public are too lenient towards them. Only by giving them the strictest education and the greatest pressure, will they be able to break through their own limits. This is my experience as a teacher for more than 40 years, and it is also my passion for children's education. I love these children, and I hope that they can do better and get into their ideal universities. Your passion has moved me. The old director who had encouraged him previously wiped the tears under his spectacles. I believe in your love for the children. I used to be a teacher, and I can understand you. Old Hua, do your best. I will always support you. I also support you. Yes, I also support you. Old Hua is a good principal. He has helped our school's enrollment rate increase by a lot. Without waiting for the vote, the directors had already started praising Hua Jingyi, as if they had already decided Hua Jingyi's fate. Director Murong, why don't you state your opinion? The old director's gaze fell on the youngest director, Murong Ying. Although she was a new director, she held the majority of the shares in the private second high. He still had to listen to her opinion. Me? Does my opinion still matter? Murong Ying sneered. 8 of the 9 directors were praising him. What was the use of her vote alone? Aya, how can you say that? We're all doing this for the school, and we're all colleagues and friends. If there's anything you want to say, just say it. Don't hide it. The old director spoke in a bureaucratic tone. Murong Ying snorted. All right, since you want to hear it, then my opinion is to disagree. Murong Ying said straightforwardly, what pressure technique? Bullshit. To a school, every student was the school's most valuable asset. We should understand them and care about them, not think about how to exploit them and make more money from them. Director Murong, you're wrong. We're doing this for the good of the school. How can we exploit the students? That's right, that's right. The little girl's words are really unpleasant. We're just trying to help our students get into a better university. Director Murong, what kind of person do you think we are? That's too much. The director started to complain about Murong Ying. Murong Ying shrugged her shoulders. You're the ones who forced me to say it. Now that I've said it, you're not happy. You're all so tired of living. Miss Murong, you're the director. I shouldn't refute you. Hua Jingyi finally found an opportunity. Offending one director was better than offending 9. Since she had already offended the other 9, it was equivalent to paving the way for herself. This was like a game of Go. An expert was not only good at using his own chess pieces to set up the game, but he was also good at using the other party's chess pieces to set up the game. Education is a profound field of study. You're still young, so you don't understand. Education nowadays is like this. Grades and college entrance examinations are everything to students. You said that we exploit the students. That's a big mistake. We're doing this for the good of the students. We want them to have a stronger foundation to face the challenges in the future. You said that we're bullshit, but this isn't decided by us. It's decided by the higher-ups. It's the entire Chinese education system. You have eyes and ears everywhere. Why don't you look for the higher-ups, the Education Bureau, and even the leaders of the Ministry of Culture? Tell them to reform the current college entrance examination system. As long as you can reform the college entrance examination system, I, Hua Jingyi, guarantee that everything will be done according to your wishes. Principal Hua, your eloquence is not bad. Murong Ying was not angry. Instead, she smiled. In order to convince us, you must have practiced for a long time. If you had used all the effort you put into thinking about the students, how great would it be? Your son wouldn't have been beaten up and hospitalized. Hua Jingyi was almost angered to death. Murong Ying hurriedly slapped her forehead and said, look at my memory. I'm sorry Principal Hua, I forgot that your son wasn't beaten up by others. He ran into a telephone pole when he went out. Principal Hua, we should all work together. You can't just focus on the school's education. You must also strengthen your son's sense of direction. Thank you for Director Murong's concern. This Hua Jingyi gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. What a good Murong Ying. Not only was she beautiful, her mouth was also fierce. He had really underestimated her. However, she couldn't overturn the heavens alone. The person who would have the last laugh would still be him. Second High's principal, Hua Jingyi. Alright, we've heard all the opinions. Everyone, let's vote by raising our hands. Old Dong raised his hand first. Those who agree with Hua Jingyi's reappointment as principal, please raise your hand. I'll take a stand first. I agree. I also don't object. The other directors also raised their hands. When everyone's gaze fell on Murong-ing, they didn't expect that Murong-ing would also raise her right hand. Director Murong, didn't you object to Hua Jingyi's reappointment? Why did you raise your hand? Could it be that what you said before was all nonsense? The old director couldn't help but ask. His voice carried a hint of sarcasm. No. I didn't mean it that way. Murong-ing smiled slightly. I'm just curious to know what this Hua Jingyi will do to Second High after being reappointed as principal. Tisk tsk. Youngsters are really hot-tempered. That's right. He's too impulsive. Old Hua is a good person. Don't target him. The directors criticized and educated Murong-ing. Murong-ing pretended not to hear them. The old director had already started shaking hands with Hua Jingyi. Old Hua, the future of Second High will depend on you. Chapter 197. Hua Jingyi's re-election and the implementation of the Stressful Learning Act was the biggest news in the school. The entire Stressful Learning Act was very strict and included a series of requirements. One of them was that male and female students were not allowed to have any intimate behavior in school, including holding hands or even walking side by side. There was also a ban on students sleeping in class. Every time they slept, 10 points would be deducted. Every student had a total of 100 points. If all of them were deducted, the student would be expelled. In Hua Jingyi's words, the students nowadays were too lax. They had long passed the age of 9 years of compulsory education. If they allowed the students to be so unscrupulous, it would be an unprecedented failure of education. Therefore, the current number 2 high school was basically in a state of danger. Hua Jingyi even specially set up a so-called discipline committee and made Chang Chuanxi the chairman of the committee. He recruited many outstanding students into the committee and made them officers. Deng Siwei was one of them. She had the right to deduct the other students' disciplinary points. Li Fan felt that Deng Siwei was looking at him differently now. It was like a hunter staring at its prey, waiting to kill Li Fan at any moment. This was one of the high-pressure systems. The other system was even more cruel. The school would conduct a mock exam every week. The mock exam would rank the students for the whole year. The last 10 students in each exam would be expelled from the school. This series of systems was really too scary. It made all the students complain incessantly. However, the parents clapped and cheered. Most of the parents thought that the students who were lagging behind were dragging down their children's grades. Only by getting rid of them could the school be restored to a clean learning environment. The latest mock exam was on the weekend. Li Fan had already missed a few classes. He felt that his progress was a bit slow. You should come to my house after school. It was rare for Lin Yuhsin and Li Fan to go home from school together. She sat on the back seat of Li Fan's bicycle and naturally grabbed his waist. She said to him, "No matter what, you are my temporary boyfriend. I can't just watch you get expelled from the school. It's just a 3-day course." Li Fan laughed. "It's not like I'm a bad student. I won't be expelled. Your results aren't good, so you're getting arrogant first." Lin Yuhsin rolled her eyes. "If you were as smart as I am, I wouldn't have refuted you. Most importantly, you're not that smart, so why are you pretending to be smart? You're looking down on me too much." My progress is obvious to all. I'm not looking down on you, I'm encouraging you. Comrade Lee. Lin Yuhsin said with a straight face. You can't be arrogant just because of a small achievement. An arrogant army is bound to lose. Don't you understand this? Yes, yes, yes. Teacher Lin is right. You are the guiding light of my life. Then help me with math and geography. I can still keep up with politics and history. What about English? Aren't you going to review your English? I remember that your English isn't a strong point. Lin Yuhsin ridiculed. But Li Fan said, because Teacher Liao said she would help me with my English. I see that her English is very good, so it shouldn't be a problem for her to help me. Humph. Lin Yuhsin suddenly snorted. What's wrong with you? Li Fan heard that this girl seemed to be a little unhappy. Everything was fine, what was the matter with her suddenly? Isn't Teacher Liao very beautiful? Lin Yuhsin asked. She's not bad. She's a beauty. Li Fan honestly said, a lot of boys in the class like her. Even my desk mate, by Lin Luo, is crazy about her. I heard that her chest is very big. Lin Yuhsin asked again. This time, Li Fan began to be suspicious. Why did you suddenly ask about this? Are you curious about a woman's chest? Humph, I heard that it's very big. Aren't all men mammals? I'm afraid when you see someone's chest, you won't be able to move your eyes away. Li Fan, tell me honestly. Do you want to tutor or do you want to drink milk? Fuck, Teacher Liao and I have a normal teacher-student relationship. You, this little girl, what are you thinking in your head? How could it be filled with such impure things? As an old revolutionary comrade, I want to criticize you. Humph, criticize your sister. Lin Yuhsin was very unhappy. It's enough to have an opponent like Muronging, but now there's a big-breasted beautiful teacher. Why didn't she tutor other people but tutor Li Fan? This teacher definitely doesn't have any good intentions towards you. You're not allowed to tutor her. It's just English. I'll teach you. You think too badly of her. She just wants to improve my English score. Li Fan doesn't know whether to laugh or cry, besides, she's a teacher. What could she want from a student? She wants to open a tutoring class. She wants to use me as a model. If she can improve my English, it'll be equivalent to giving her publicity. Che, your brain is too naive. Lin Yuhsin doesn't believe Li Fan's nonsense. Rather than believe you men's words, you might as well believe that there are ghosts in this world. What admiring other people's English? I think it's better to admire other people's impressive chest. You might be a bit sick. You should take your medicine. Li Fan is very speechless. Did Lin Yuhsin eat gunpowder today? You get off, I'll ride back myself. Lin Yuhsin suddenly said coldly. Are you crazy? I'm not crazy. Also, you think of your own mathematics and geography. I don't want to tutor you. Go look for your cow teacher. Lin Yuhsin says as she chases Li Fan off the bicycle and pedals home. This woman might have some mental problems. Li Fan is very puzzled, she should take a look at herself. TSK, brotherly, you're clearly unromantic. At this moment, a ridiculing voice suddenly comes from the street lamp. Li Fan, as if facing a formidable enemy, immediately turns his body upside down and fills his whole body with true qi. A figure wearing a white suit is standing on top of the street lamp. Arms crossed, looking down at him with a smile on his face. How could it be you, this pervert? Li Fan frowns and asks. I have a name. My surname is Yen Kai. Yan Kai is unhappy and rolls his eyes. Brotherly, next time don't call me by the wrong name. I know your name, but the word pervert is more suitable for you. Although the two of them speak with ridicule, Li Fan doesn't lower his vigilance. He stares at Yan Kai, afraid that he will make any sneak attack. Chapter 198. Brother Li is being a bit too careful. Yan Kai looked at Li Fan's cautious appearance and could not help but laugh. Yan, have already left the genie guard, what are you worried about? That place is a place where you can enter and leave as you wish. Li Fan was a bit skeptical, are you kidding me? Of course it's not that easy to leave, but if I want to leave, no one can stop me. You don't say, I really heard your name. Li Fan looked at Yan Kai, speaking of which, you are actually a disciple of Wudong, it's really hard to believe. What's not to believe, I have always been favored by the heavens. On Wudong Mountain, no one is my opponent, staying here is really boring. Yan Kai sighed, those of the same generation are even more boring, every day they only know how to practice martial arts, no fun at all. And those women on Wudong Mountain, they are like flies, constantly sticking to me, it's so annoying. Fuck, can you not use this kind of method to talk? What do you mean by that? Yan Kai looked at Li Fan puzzledly, it seemed like he did not understand modern otaku culture well enough. It means to be a winner in life. Li Fan clenched his fist, this guy, is he here to show off? Oh, that is indeed suitable to be used on me. Yes, I am a cash-in user. Yan Kai nodded, did not hesitate to use this word, therefore, Wudong Mountain to me, has no meaning. My ambition is to travel everywhere, the world below the mountain is more exciting. Then continue to be exciting, I have to go home. Li Fan was too lazy to pay attention to this. Yan Kai turned around and was about to leave. Hey, Brother Li, why are you in such a hurry? Although there is a big difference in status between us, it can be considered that we have met once. Why not let go of the grudge in your heart? I do not despise you for being inferior to me in all aspects, we can be fair, how about we have a good chat? Fuck off. Li Fan cursed, you call this being fair? Hurry up and go see a doctor, just looking at you makes my balls hurt. My balls hurt? Brother Li, are you talking about GAO pills? Yan Kai pondered for a moment. This should be a symptom of kidney deficiency. I happen to know some of Elder Huang's skills. Why don't I take a look for Brother Li? Fuck off. I'll beat you up. Li Fan was so angry that he shook his true chi. The dust around him was blown away by his chi, forming a circular ripple that spread in all directions. It just so happens that my strength has improved recently. I haven't found someone to spar with yet. Ahem, isn't fighting and killing every day a little harmful? For some unknown reason, although Yan Kai was proud of his martial arts, he felt a little guilty when he saw Li Fan. Sigh, if he still had the strength he had back then, why would he be afraid of this young man? Then why did you come to me? Don't tell me you want to play mahjong with me. There's no need to play mahjong. But like I said, I'm going to quit my job in the brocade uniform guard. Yan Kai boasted shamelessly, but this organization's roots are too long. It's hard to get in, and it's not easy to get out. They gave me one last task. As long as I complete it, they will approve my resignation. But this task, although I can complete it by myself, in order to strengthen our friendship, I decided to ask you to be my assistant. Fuck off. Li Fan rolled his eyes. So he was looking for me to help him, but his tone was still so big. Only a ghost would help him. Brother Li, how can you be so tactless? Yan Kai hurriedly said, this is the first time I, Yan Kai, am looking for someone to help me. You should feel happy. Let me ask you, are you a beauty? Of course not, this Taoist is a man. Yan Kai said very seriously. That's right. Then how much money can you give me to help you? This is the friendship between us. How can it be measured with money? Fine, I don't covet beauty and I don't covet money. If I help you, am I crazy or are you crazy? Your words are too hurtful. Yan Kai sighed, no matter what, we are brothers. I am a few years older than you, so I can be said to be your elder brother. Between brothers, do you need to use money and beauty to measure it? You're acting like you're familiar with us. Li Fan snorted, who is your brother? We have only met once, and we only fought once. As the saying goes, no discord, no concord. Yan Kai immediately said, you and I are pretentious because of the fight. We appreciate each other and take care of each other. Fuck off, who appreciates each other? Don't you have any shame? Don't deny it, a man should be honest. Fuck, I'm honest enough, okay? Get the fuck out of here. I'm annoyed when I see you. On Mount Wudong, some male disciples can't resist my charm and have some strange feelings for me. Yan Kai pointed at his eyes and said softly, brotherly, although you have been resisting on the surface, my eyes can see through your heart. See your big head. Why don't we just fight? Li Fan stretched out his palms and put them in front of him, making a fighting posture. Sure enough, beating and scolding is love. You want to have the most real communication, right? Yan Kai said and began to pull out his belt. Wait for me, I'll accompany you. Wait a minute. Li Fan hurriedly reached out and stopped Yan Kai's next move. Fuck, can you not do such a wretched action? It feels wrong, okay? I'm just showing my big sword. Fuck, big sword your sister. Li Fan was about to collapse. Was this Yan Kai unintentional or intentional? I'm fucking convinced. Tie your belt back for me. You really don't want it. But my passion has already been ignited. Burning your ass. Hurry up. Or I'll burst your ass into 8 pieces. Yan Kai's face darkened and he frowned. After thinking for a long time, he asked. You really have that kind of hobby? No. Li Fan emphasized loudly. Then why was Brotherly so insensitive to that beauty just now? Fuck, don't mind our business, as if you're a Casanova. Women are too noisy. I, Yan Kai, have said that I will never find a woman to marry in the future. Yan Kai voiced out his inner thoughts. I'd rather find a like-minded man to accompany me hand in hand than spend my life with a woman. Hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. Li Fan hurriedly waved his hand. He was already mentally and physically exhausted. Brotherly, whether you have a homosexual fetish or not, I won't despise you. But this time, I still hope that you can help me. You don't need to run, I especially drove a luxury car to pick you up. Hee hee, impossible. Li Fan raised 3 fingers, just these 3 words. Impossible. Chapter 199. Brotherly, although this flying cat's fist technique isn't good, her qigong is pretty good. Yan Kai said to Li Fan as he drove. You have to be more careful. Fuck this tofu, Li Fan's life was at a low ebb. His life was really over. Just now, he swore that he wouldn't help Yan Kai, but Yan Kai said that if he helped him today, he would tell him some insider information about the genie guard. This moved Li Fan. Yan Kai seemed to be prepared for this. He took a set of genie guard clothes and helped Li Fan change into it. He had good taste. The size that he chose was very suitable. After Li Fan put it on, it didn't look out of place at all. those who didn't know might really think that Li Fan was a genie guard. However, Li Fan didn't expect that this so-called luxury car was actually an electric scooter. This is the luxury car you were talking about? Of course, a luxury electric scooter. It's green, environmentally friendly, and has plenty of horsepower. Yan Kai proudly rode his electric scooter with his head held high. Li Fan didn't have the energy to complain. He could only follow Yan Kai and continue riding. You might as well run with Qinggong instead of riding an electric scooter. That's a useless shoe. Yan Kai immediately said, and if the wind is too strong, my hair will be messed up. Most importantly, when we find the flying cat, we have to save our true Qi to chase her. That woman's Qinggong is really amazing. Alright. Today's task is to chase after the flying cat, right? Li Fan asked. Yes, we are to catch her. Once we catch her, our task will be over. Yan Kai described, don't look down on this flying cat. Her Qinggong is the best in the world. Whether or not you and I can catch up to her is another matter. Yo. Yan Kai, you actually admit defeat. Ahem, this isn't admitting defeat. It's just that everyone has their own specialties. Yan Kai explained, although my Qinggong isn't as good as hers, I am outstanding in other aspects. Anyway, I can't tell, that's because your eyesight is bad. Yan Kai was also a little depressed. He was ridiculed again and again. It was really too unpleasant. I say, brotherly, there's no need for us to ridicule each other. We should help each other. We're all brothers. I'm not your brother. Don't shamelessly claim that you're my relative. Li Fan rolled his eyes. If it weren't for the fact that he wanted to uncover the secrets of the genie guards, Li Fan wouldn't have bothered with this Wudang disciple. What the fuck, he's a complete egomaniac. He didn't know what kind of stimulation this person went through when he was young, but his narcissism was unparalleled. He used to think that Lu Xinan was narcissistic enough. But after meeting Yan Kai, he knew what it meant to pale in comparison. This was nothing. What made Li Fan feel the most unacceptable was that his sexual orientation was not too obvious. Although Yan Kai kept asking if he had a homosexual fetish, as if he was disgusted. But for some reason, when Li Fan got too close to him, he would get goosebumps. This man, it was better to keep a certain distance from him. Especially when he was close to him, Li Fan actually smelled the scent of perfume from his body. Damn, Li Fan had always felt some kind of annoyance towards men who liked to wear perfume. Sissy. Moreover, this Yan Kai was too handsome. If he had long hair, people would probably think that he was a woman. Brotherly, can you tell me why you're being hunted by the genie guards? Yan Kai seemed to be the same as a woman, with a terrible heart for gossip. While riding his electric bike, he didn't forget to ask Li Fan for some gossip. Damn, why are you so curious? If I don't ask, my heart will itch. Yan Kai didn't take his driving seriously at all, which made Li Fan uncomfortable. The genie guards are a bunch of lunatics, how can I figure out their thoughts? You're a man, why do you like to ask so many questions? There are indeed few good people in the genie guards, but it's not like there aren't any. For example, I am a 100% normal person. You're normal your ass. Brotherly, how can your words be so uncivilized? We're all people with good manners, you shouldn't talk like that. Yes, it's my fault, I'll repeat. You're normal my ass. Yan Kai suddenly felt speechless. This Li Fan's mouth seemed to be quite fierce. Alright, brotherly, although you don't want to tell me the reason, but in the genie guards, you're already on the blacklist. What's the blacklist? Hearing that Yan Kai finally began to talk about the main topic, Li Fan was a little interested. The black list is a bounty list of the genie guards. Yen Kai said, ever since I failed my mission, the person in charge of this area has put your name on the blacklist. For the first time, Yen Kai spoke in a serious tone. This blacklist is not simple, those who are on it are all difficult to deal with. Whoever completes the missions on the blacklist will receive a large amount of money and points. In the genie guards, points are more important than anything else. Because with high points, you can be promoted to nobility. Brotherly, I don't want to say this, but your current points are enough to raise a Baihu to a Qianhu. I don't need to say more about how many people are jealous of you. Fuck, Li Fan was a little uncomfortable, thinking that this was a bit too much. Didn't he only repel the genie guards 3 times, was there a need to put him on such a high position? Last time, that Li Wenjue and Li Baihu were enough to make him suffer. Now if there were a few more, or 2 Qianhu, how could he play? Don't tell me you still have ideas about me. Li Fan looked at Yen Kai suspiciously, but Yen Kai held the handle with one hand and quickly raised the other. I've always been a man of my word. If I say I won't mess with you, then I won't mess with you. Fuck you, you don't have any civilized meaning in your words. This Yen Kai, why does he always talk in a roundabout way? Fuck, this is really too fucked up. I am also bloody unlucky, why do I always know such strange people? We are almost there. Yen Kai had already driven to a villa area. Li Fan knew this place, it was called Rainbow Home, a place where only the rich could afford to live. Who is this Yen Kai chasing that he actually came to such a place? Flying Cat is a Jianghu strange thief. Yen Kai seemed to have guessed Li Fan's doubts. He carefully stopped his electric scooter by the side, locked the 2 tires, then stood up with relief and explained to Li Fan. We received news that she will come here tonight to commit a crime. Chapter 200. What kind of person was Flying Cat? Li Fan was really curious. No matter how powerful the Qin Gong, what could it be? Could it be that it could create wind on flat ground and leap 1,000 miles in one leap? Those were all mythical figures that would never appear in reality. Li Fan had even asked Muronging before, since ancient martial arts existed in this world, would there be cultivation? Muronging only rolled her eyes at Li Fan, thinking that he might have read too many novels. Yen Kai, do you think that in this world, there is cultivation, immortality, and the like? Li Fan felt that it was a bit awkward for the 2 of them to stand alone by the lake in this high-class villa, so he tried to find a topic to talk about. Practicing martial arts can strengthen one's body and prolong one's lifespan, but immortality is absolutely impossible. Yen Kai was more knowledgeable in this aspect. For example, our sect's founder, Zhang Sanfeng, he only lived for 100 years. That is to say, humans are ultimately unable to break through the limits of their lifespan. Life and death are decreed by fate, riches and honor are determined by the heavens. Yen Kai was very open-minded, so what if I die? I will still be a good man in 20 years. You don't believe in immortality, but believe in reincarnation. Humans must have some faith. Yen Kai laughed. How scary is a person who doesn't respect ghosts and gods. Although I, Yen Kai, am elegant and handsome, but I still need to have some respect. Get lost. Li Fan wanted to kick Yen Kai to the 9 heavens. But speaking of immortality, there was indeed such a legend in the pugilistic world in the past. Oh. What legend? Li Fan thought. Yen Kai continued, legend has it that there was such an expert in the pugilistic world who was known as the Undying Evil Buddha. This person was extremely talented, and his martial arts were unparalleled in the world. Furthermore, he created a mental cultivation method called Vairocana Sutra. Vairocana Sutra. Li Fan's heart skipped a beat. This was the martial art that Lu Xinan had mentioned to him. This mental cultivation method sounds like a Buddhist technique, but it's actually very different. Yen Kai's expression turned heavy. This evil Buddha created this technique to absorb true qi from others and turn it into his own. This move sounded like his dragon-toed ingestion of water. Li Fan's ears perked up. It's fine if it's just Jinqi, but I heard that even the opponent's blood will be absorbed along with the Jinqi. Any martial practitioner who had their true qi sucked away would rapidly age. The undefeatable evil Buddha is using this to prolong his life. Is this possible? Li Fan had a mysterious feeling as he listened. I don't know the specifics. Yen Kai waved his hand. It's just some old Jianghu rumors. When I was disobedient when I was young, Master often used the name of evil Buddha to scare me.
But now that I've grown up, I won't believe this. However, rumor has it that the experts of the major sects of the Jianghu fought with him for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, all the experts died, and only then did he defeat him. If I can be a bad person to this extent, my life will not be in vain. Li Fan sighed. I don't know if I can leave behind any rumors of me in the Jianghu in the future. Brotherly, if you work hard, you should be able to. Yen Kai laughed. As for me, I'm so handsome that I can shock the Jianghu. I will definitely leave a strong mark. I think so too. Oh. Brotherly, and I think heroes think alike. And, in the future Jianghu rumors, the former Wudong Mountain disciple Yen Kai was killed by the top 10 experts of the Jianghu. His death was horrible and appalling. Yen Kai's body trembled slightly. It was unknown if he was happy or angry. Let's get down to business. Yen Kai took a deep breath and calmed himself down. The security guards of this district are very fierce. In order not to alert them, let's climb over the wall. Yen Kai stretched out 2 fingers and pointed at the top of the high wall. What are you afraid of? Use your beauty to seduce the security guards. I guarantee success. I'm a man. Ah, so you're a man. Li Fan exclaimed, I just found out. I'm sorry. Sister. Brotherly. If you do this, we can't be friends. No need to be friends. Let's just be passers-by. Li Fan declared, I helped you once, you helped me once. We're even. For the first time, Yen Kai felt so depressed. This brotherly, why does his words always carry the smell of gunpowder? Brotherly, let's climb over the wall first. Sure. Li Fan did not hesitate. He jumped and somersaulted in the air. Before his feet touched the ground, he jumped over the 3-meter-high wall. Brother Li's Qinggong is so handsome. Yen Kai kicked the wall twice and landed in the courtyard of the district. Looking at Li Fan, he could not help but praise. But compared to my cloud ladder, it's still a bit inferior. You're the best. You're the best. Li Fan could not be bothered to argue with this guy. This was not the first time he saw Li Fan's narcissism. But will the flying cat really come today? Li Fan squatted in the corner of the garden. After all, this was a place where the rich lived. The facilities were really good. There were flowers and grass everywhere, and there were mountains and rivers. In the entire district, there was a huge artificial lake. Around the lake, there were some beautiful villas. It was unknown how many lifetimes an ordinary person would have to struggle to live in such a place. Wine and meat stink at the gates of the rich, but there are frozen bones on the road. Yen Kai could not help but sigh, regarding this point, no matter which year it is, it will never change. You can't say it like that. The rich have their own enjoyment, and the poor naturally have their own happiness.
Li Fan did not agree with Yen Kai's statement. Furthermore, as long as one is strong and independent, the poor can also change their fate. But in today's society, how many people have this kind of awareness? Yan Kai touched his chin and sighed again. After all, there are fewer and fewer people like me who are handsome, confident, and righteous. What the fuck, this guy never forgot to praise himself. So is the flying cat coming or not? Which family has she taken a liking to? Li Fan did not want to bother with Yan Kai, so he went straight to the point and asked. That's the family. Yan Kai pointed to a small villa with a few luxury cars parked in front of him. I heard that the flying cat has her eyes on this family's family heirloom. She even sent out a notice, and the owner of this family has requested help from the embroidered uniform guard. Our mission today is to capture the flying cat. Ordinary people can request help from the embroidered uniform guard. Li Fan was a little puzzled. To put it bluntly, the embroidered uniform guard is also the imperial court's lackeys. Yan Kai smiled. The owner of this family seems to know some important people, so he can get help from the embroidered uniform guard. All right. Anyway, I'll help you this time, but you must remember the promise. Chapter 201. You two must be the experts from the Genie Guard. I've been looking forward to your arrival. Li Fan and Yan Kai walked into the villa. A young man in a black suit immediately greeted them. My name is Peter, I'm Mr. Wang's assistant. I'm in charge of receiving you two. Oh. Yan Kai lowered his head and checked his nails as he said casually, it's such an important matter, and your CEO Wang doesn't even want to show up personally. I'm sorry, Mr. Wang is a bit busy right now. He specifically asked me to pick you two up. The assistant quickly said. Li Fan didn't care, but Yan Kai swept his sleeves and coldly said, then let him be busy. Let's go. You two, please wait. The assistant was shocked. If the two of them left, it would be disastrous. The two of you, please wait. Yan Kai and Li Fan completely ignored the assistant and walked out without looking back. This time he was helping Yan Kai, so Li Fan was very cooperative. In order to not let Li Fan's identity be exposed, Yan Kai specially made a black ghost mask for him. This mask only had one piece, and it just covered his face. It didn't block his nose and mouth, so he could breathe. The Genie Guard had such a thing. Sure enough, it was an organization that walked in the dark. Yan Kai even helped Li Fan prepare the waist tag. It was said that he casually got it. Who knows which unlucky person it belonged to. The assistant quickly caught up and apologized and begged, you two, please don't go. We can discuss this. Without you two tonight, Mr. Wang's family heirloom would be lost, and I would lose my job. Whether you lose your job or not, what does it have to do with us? Yan Kai mercilessly said, our mission is to protect the thing. Now that we can't see the owner and the thing, we naturally have to go back. Little Zhang, let me say it. Seeing that Yan Kai insisted on leaving, the door next to them was opened. A middle-aged man wearing luxurious pajamas walked out. This middle-aged man's face showed a look of displeasure. He seemed to be very dissatisfied with Yan Kai's attitude. You two, if you leave just like that, I'm afraid that a certain Lord Qian who will not be happy, right? The middle-aged man seemed to be implying something, but Yan Kai chuckled and said coldly, what does that have to do with us? Director Wang, is this how you treat us when you invite us here? Let's get this straight. I didn't invite you here. You were sent here. With a cigar in his mouth, he said, so what if he's from the Jianghu? Won't he still be used by me? Don't think that I don't know that once you embroidered uniform guards accept a mission, you must complete it. Wasn't this person's attitude a little too arrogant? What did he take himself for? Li Fan felt a little uncomfortable, but he was in disguise, so it was not suitable for him to speak much. He could only rely on Yan Kai on this occasion. With Yan Kai's pride, would he be able to withstand Director Wang's ridicule? Let's finish the mission first. Then, we'll come back and beat him up. Yan Kai said to Li Fan using the 1,000-mile sound transmission technique. Director Wang sat there, unable to hear a single word. No matter what, let us take a look at your family heirloom first. Yan Kai said. What if the two of you spoil it? We're just looking and not touching it. How can it spoil? Yan Kai was so angry that he wanted to laugh. This Director Wang, not only did he stink of money, his IQ might be a little low. A real treasure will be spoiled when it's looked at by others. Director Wang's words were very arrogant. His high and mighty attitude was unbearable. Li Fan felt that Yan Kai was just narcissistic. This person obviously regarded him as the king of heaven. This damn fatty, just because he has some money, he doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Li Fan's mouth twitched. If it wasn't to help Yan Kai with this mission, he wouldn't be bothered to work for this kind of person. Speaking of pride, a youth of his age was more prideful than anyone else. We don't even know what to protect, how can we protect it? Yan Kai questioned. A bunch of poor thugs from the Jianghu. Director Wang sneered. Fine, today I'll let you open your eyes. With that said, CEO Wang stood up and pressed on the wall next to him. The portrait of a naked woman hanging on the wall immediately moves to the side, revealing a delicate safe inside. Director Wang entered the password and opened the safe. Immediately, a golden Buddha statue appeared. This Buddha statue was only the size of a palm, but the craftsmanship was exquisite. The carvings were very lifelike. Li Fan didn't know much about antiques, but he could feel that this thing was not cheap. Don't look down on this golden Buddha statue. This is an item from the Song dynasty. Director Wang chuckled. I spent a lot of effort to get it. You poor bastards, if you take a look at it, your life will be worth it. Song dynasty. This is a private collection, it's illegal. Li Fan finally couldn't bear it anymore and said. I asked you to come here to protect me. Not to teach me a lesson. Director Wang scolded, two poor bastards, who do you think you are to dare to teach me a lesson? I have money, I am the law. Do you understand? If the two of you dare to say another word, I, your father, will immediately find someone to skin the two of you. Do you understand? Li Fan and Yan Kai looked at each other and smiled. Wasn't this what they wanted? The two of you, what are you laughing at? Director Wang didn't expect that after he scolded them, the two of them would actually laugh. Director Wang, this golden Buddha statue of yours is indeed pretty good looking. The assistant at the side suddenly walked forward. Director Wang scolded. What are you doing here? Move aside. This won't do, Director Wang. After all, I can't resist the charm of this golden Buddha statue. As the assistant said that, he extended two fingers and suddenly poked Director Wang's body. Vein seal. Pooh. Director Wang's blood flow was immediately sealed. He stood there, unable to move. Only his mouth could move. You, what are you doing? Peter, you don't want to work anymore. I'm not Peter. The assistant curled his lips. Director Wang, take a look at who I am. As he said that, he stretched out his hand and pulled out the mask. This mask was actually a woman's face. Li Fan could only vaguely see an oval face. Then, it was blocked by the half-cat mask. It was a living person. In the blink of an eye, the assistant Peter had turned into a beauty wearing a cat girl's clothes. It's you. Seeing this woman appear, Li Fan was shocked. Two idiots, thank you for your help. Flying Cat smiled at Yan Kai and Li Fan. Then, with his left hand, he kept the golden Buddha statue into a black bag. With a flick of his right hand, he threw out a handful of black nails. Like a hidden weapon, he threw them towards Li Fan and Yan Kai. Chapter 202. Li Fan grabbed the curtain next to him and with a shake of his hand, the curtain was infused with innate qi, covering all the nails inside. Throw it away. Yan Kai slapped Li Fan's wrist, sending the curtain flying. Crackle. Crackle. It was as if firecrackers were stuffed inside the curtain, making a crackling sound. Fuck, these nails are actually filled with gunpowder. Li Fan said. If Yan Kai hadn't helped him in time, he might not have been able to keep his hand. It seemed that his experience in the underworld was still too shallow. The flying cat had already jumped out of the window and disappeared into the night. Where are you going? Yan Kai had already taken the lead and chased it out of the window. The curtain was still swaying gently. Li Fan was about to chase after it when Director Wong shouted from behind. Don't go. Untie me first. Li Fan was about to help him, but Director Wong scolded again, 2 pieces of trash, dogs. You can't even protect my baby. Hurry up and untie me, I'm going to complain to your boss. I'm going to skin you. Ugh, Li Fan stood in front of Director Wong, who continued to scold him. What are you looking at, idiot? Hurry up and untie me. Do you know me? Li Fan pointed at his mask and asked. How would I know a pauper like you? I'm high and mighty, do you understand? That's good. Li Fan nodded, then suddenly punched Director Wong's fat chin with an uppercut. Puff! CEO Wong spat out 2 teeth from his mouth. His body was sent flying high into the air. With a bang, he smashed through the ceiling above his head and hung there. Now you're really high and mighty, no need to thank me. Li Fan clapped his hands and looked at Director Wong, who was dangling from the ceiling. He was very satisfied with his masterpiece. When the maid heard the noise and saw Director Wong stuck in the ceiling, her scream pierced the night sky. However, Li Fan had already leaped out of the window and was chasing after the sky cat. The flying cat's qigong was indeed outstanding. People who didn't know better would really think that she was a cat demon who cultivated here. She sped through the night as if she was stepping on clouds. From time to time, she would soar a few meters into the air. Her figure was faintly discernible, causing Yan Kai to have a hard time catching up with her. Although Yan Kai was an outstanding disciple of Wudong, his qigong was much weaker. His speed was obviously not as fast as the flying cat, and he was soon left behind. Hee, you want to chase me with this kind of lightness skill? Flying Cat turned her head around and made a face at Yan Kai, who had been thrown far away. But she suddenly sucked in a sharp breath, because another embroidered uniform guard with a devil mask was following behind her with ease. Impossible. He had already used 70% of his qigong, so how could the lackeys of the brocade guard still catch up to him? Her master had said that her qigong was already unrivaled in the world. Even if she went up against the current martial arts alliance master, Morong-ing, she would still be slightly better. But now, there was actually someone who could catch up to her. It was truly inconceivable. Flying Cat recalled that she had met a young man whose qigong was also very amazing. Could it be that she had not been in the pugilistic world for too long that so many qigong experts had appeared? The person chasing beside Flying Cat was none other than Li Fan. He was currently using the deer scamper of the deer strike technique. Not only was this qigong fast, but it also had a strong endurance. That was why, after chasing for so long, even Yan Kai had been left behind by such an expert, but Li Fan was still able to keep up with Flying Cat. Every time his feet landed on the ground, he would use the force to bounce up, allowing his body to leap another 7 or 8 meters forward. Naturally, the amount of vital qi he expended was also much less. Lackey, your qigong is quite impressive. Flying Cat praised someone for the first time. But I haven't used my qigong to its fullest, so don't be too pleased with yourself. Then take it out and let me broaden my horizons. The corners of Li Fan's mouth curled up into a smile, maintaining the pretentiousness that an expert of the embroidered uniform guards should have. You can keep up now. Flying Cat shook her perky buttocks and strode forward with a pair of beautiful long legs. Suddenly, her body pressed down a few centimeters, as if she was almost sticking to the ground. Her legs continuously stepped on the ground, and her whole body suddenly accelerated, nimbly jumping between the buildings. Li Fan smiled. Although his qigong was not comparable to Flying Cat's, he had already made preparations in order to capture this girl. He extended his hand and took out a claw that was connected to a chain from his waist. This was what Li Fan had requested from Yan Kai beforehand. With this item, Li Fan's pursuit would be much easier. Flying Cat's qigong was elegant. She stepped on the edge of the building and leaped forward more than 10 meters, easily landing on the roof of the building. As for Li Fan, he was not in a hurry. After rushing to the edge of the building, he leaped forward more than 7 meters. Then, he threw out his claw and grabbed onto the water pipe on the roof of the opposite building. This claw was imbued with Li Fan's true qi, and it was as nimble as an arm. Li Fan pulled with his hand, and with the strength of the claw, he leaped forward a few meters. At the same time, his speed increased by 70 to 80%. Ha! Seeing that the embroidered uniform guards had actually used such a method to catch up to her, Flying Cat could not help but feel a little surprised. After leaping between the buildings a few times, Li Fan relied on this claw to get closer and closer to Flying Cat. What the hell? Flying Cat no longer had the arrogance from before. Now, she looked at Li Fan as if she had seen a ghost. This person relied on a claw to actually make up for the flaw in her qigong. Flying Cat looked at the electric pole in front of her and suddenly had an idea. She quickly jumped up the electric pole and landed on the electric wire. Every time she stepped on the electric wire, she would do it with one foot. This way, the electric current would not form a circuit in her body, and she would not get electrocuted. This was a qigong that only an expert like Flying Cat could perform. If an ordinary person stepped on such a soft electric wire, they would not even be able to maintain their balance, let alone one foot. Flying Cat would step on the electric wire with one foot and then bounce forward. This repeated, and she would advance forward. Li Fan did not have that ability, but he was not in a hurry. He stuck close to the ground and followed Flying Cat. Just as Flying Cat was about to jump a little higher, Li Fan suddenly shook his hand and threw a golden bullet at Flying Cat. Child's play. Flying Cat's body actually paused in the air for a moment, and the golden bullet flew past the bridge of her nose. At this moment, Li Fan's right claw left his hand again and directly hooked onto Flying Cat's shoulder. Not good. Flying Cat cried out in alarm, but it was too late. Li Fan pulled on his claw and forcibly pulled Flying Cat down from the air, which was already 10 meters in the air. Whoosh! Flying Cat used her qigong to counteract Li Fan's strength, but she was still thrown in front of Li Fan. Flying Cat, is it? I'll take it down. But Li Fan's hands were like iron hoops, causing the Flying Cat to be unable to struggle free. She was actually unable to escape. Damn it! Quickly let go. The Flying Cat suddenly raised her leg, and a blade immediately shot out from her foot, aiming straight for Li Fan's neck. This little girl is really vicious. As Li Fan spoke, he bit the tip of the blade with his teeth, forcefully blocking the blade on the Flying Cat's shoes. Damn it! The flying cat was somewhat afraid. She didn't expect this embroidered uniform guard to be this powerful. Her sneak attacks were all blocked by him. Logically speaking, an ordinary person wouldn't be able to react in time to her sure kill kick. But Li Fan was an exception. His unique slow motion caused the flying cat's attack to be ineffective. Just surrender obediently. Li Fan said, "You won't be able to escape." That's hard to say. The corner of the flying cat's mouth suddenly curled up. "You lackey, don't look down on me." As it spoke, the flying cat suddenly whistled. This whistle was strange, as if it carried some special true energy in it. Immediately after, countless pairs of bright eyes suddenly appeared around the building. When Li Fan saw it clearly, he realized that there were groups of wild cats appearing around him. They seemed to be controlled by the flying cat as they suddenly attacked Li Fan. The claws of these wild cats were very sharp, and even Li Fan couldn't withstand it. If there were only 3 or 4 of them, it would still be fine. But now, there were at least a few dozen of them, and they were densely packed together. They attacked Li Fan, forcing him to take a few steps back. At the same time, he used his crane hand to continuously hit the wild cats in front of him, slapping them away. These wild cats were only controlled by the flying cat, and Li Fan didn't want to kill them. Therefore, he was very careful and only sent them flying, but didn't kill them. The flying cat's eyes seemed to light up, but it wasn't the time to think about other things. She didn't dare to hesitate and immediately jumped up and ran. The flying cat's qigong was unparalleled, especially when it was running for its life, where it displayed even greater power. In the blink of an eye, she had already run more than 10 meters away. Li Fan suddenly shouted, and the surrounding wild cats fainted. The flying cat had already run far away, and Yan Kai was also by her side. "Where is she?" "She went into the shopping mall over there." Li Fan and Yan Kai walked toward the shopping mall where the flying cat was hiding, but at that moment, a movie had just ended, and many customers came out of the shopping mall. These people looked at Li Fan and Yan Kai strangely. After all, the two of them were dressed like cosplayers in the modern world, or they were crazy. A short-haired girl in a denim skirt walked past Li Fan, bringing with her a fruity fragrance. Li Fan didn't suspect anything, and was still looking at the shopping mall. The girl revealed a smile, turned around, and got into a taxi. She must have slipped away. Yan Kai was so angry that he slapped the small tree beside him, and a piece of bark fell off the small tree. This woman is not only good at qigong, she is also good at disguise. There are so many people here, and we can't find her at all. Looks like I won't be able to help you this time. Li Fan also felt a little depressed. It was his first time helping someone, and he still failed. "It's okay, no matter what you said, you did help." Yan Kai comforted Li Fan. "I am preparing." His gaze fell on Li Fan's back, and his expression suddenly became strange. Li Fan turned his head, and saw Yan Kai's strange expression, and subconsciously took 2 steps back. "What are you trying to do?" "I said before, I don't have that kind of hobby." "Brotherly, you're back. Fuck you, I will not carry it." "You misunderstood, there is something on your back," Yan Kai said, and went forward to take down the thing on Li Fan's back. It was a piece of white paper, and a string of words was written on it. "Big idiot, I will find you next time to play." The signature was a hand-drawn cartoon black cat. This damn woman. She fooled us all. Chapter 204. This woman, Flying Cat, made Li Fan feel a sense of defeat. Her martial arts were not as good as his, but she managed to escape his pursuit, causing him to suffer a loss. This kind of depression was really indescribable. Li Fan had been practicing martial arts for so long that he could be considered to have some small achievements. He was more or less a little proud, and his self-esteem also kept up. But now that he was played by a cat burglar, he was more or less unhappy. However, Yan Kai was a man of his word. Although he couldn't help him, he still decided to help Li Fan figure out the genie guard. Do you really agree with this plan, Brother Li? The two of them rode on Yan Kai's electric donkey, and Yan Kai couldn't help but ask. Why not? Li Fan chuckled, as the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. This is my resolve. I'm afraid, outsiders won't believe that there's actually a spy in the genie guard. Yan Kai muttered, the genie guard had stood in Jianghu for hundreds of years. It could be said to be an organization that transcended reality. Since the establishment of the Ming dynasty until the Qing dynasty, it was actually still maintained in secret. But the genie guard was more special. It wasn't a weapon of the court, but secretly carried out the work of fighting against the Qing dynasty. After the Republic of China, Yuan Shikai found the commander of the genie guard and signed a cooperation agreement with him. Since then, the genie guard actively prepared for Yuan Shikai's restoration. But at this time, the genie guard split internally. The commander's proud disciple betrayed him, and used a secret technique to kill Yuan Shikai. From then on, the genie guard officially split into the Black Guard and the Gold Guard. The Gold Guard followed the commander, while the Black Guard followed his beloved disciple. Later the beloved disciple joined our party, and the Gold Guard followed Jiang Jisher. During the Civil War, it was also the 10 years of internal war in the genie guard. Later, the commander was killed by his beloved disciple, and the genie guard merged back into one, and became a weapon of the government, carrying out dark missions. The identity of the Black Guard was also preserved, and changed to Black Guard. Their identity was very confidential, even the people inside the genie guard only knew their code names. Only one person was special, and that was Heartless Saber Yushi. It was said that this woman was the beloved disciple of the current commander-in-chief. She was born without any feelings and only had her mission in her eyes. Therefore, her nickname was the Heartless Blade. She was one of the few young masters in Jianghu who had reached the peak. This was what Yan Kai had told Li Fan about the history of the embroidered uniform guard. He didn't know much more than that. Li Fan's method was to personally enter the embroidered uniform guard and see what this organization was like. However, Yan Kai's electric scooter seemed to be a little disappointing. It ran out of battery halfway. You must be too heavy. Yan Kai's heart ached as he touched his beloved car. My car is a small displacement. Low capacity. Small displacement, my ass. Where did you get the displacement from? Can we stop joking around? In short, let's walk the rest of the way. Yan Kai carefully locked his electric scooter on the side of the road. He took out a coat from the seat and wrapped it tightly around the electric scooter. Be good and rest here for a while. Daddy will pick you up in the morning. Yan Kai patted the electric scooter and said softly beside it. Fuck this lunatic. Li Fan wanted to kick him to the ground. This person might have a problem with his brain. Why was he talking to an electric scooter? What are we going to do next? Li Fan asked. Yan Kai looked at his Jordan shoes with a pained expression. There's still a long way to go. My Chia 12 will cry if we run so far. What about you? Hail a taxi. That's expensive. Why don't you carry me back? I'm light, only 150 pounds. Fuck off. Li Fan felt that he could laugh at this guy. Fuck, this guy really needs to take his medicine. Narcissistic and stingy. Too bad. Forget it. It's time to let my Chia 12 experience the passion of sports. Yan Kai looked at his shoes pitifully. Li Fan felt that he was not only stingy, but he might have a fetish. The two of them could only choose to walk. Fortunately, they were both martial artists. Their qigong was not bad. They walked quickly and did not feel tired. As for Yan Kai, he always chose clean places to rest. He decided not to touch dirty places. Li Fan finally understood why his qigong was so far behind. This guy had a mental illness. Big brother, let me give you a suggestion. Li Fan could not help but ridicule. Take off your shoes and tie them to your head. Then run barefoot. You will be able to increase your speed. How can I do that? That will hurt my precious jade feet. Jade feet, your sister. Brotherly, how can you be so rude? I want to beat you up. Can't you speak properly? Oh. I'm afraid of dirtying my feet. Fuck off. This Yan Kai was practically the same as Huang Lei. They were both clowns. The two of them would probably fight for the entire night. It was unimaginable that they would meet. That would definitely be the end of the world. Let's not think about it. Ba. I've sinned. Li Fan followed Yan Kai to the parking lot of a shopping mall. The Genie Guards branch is here. Li Fan could not help but ask. Of course not. But only here can we go to the branch. Yan Kai said and brought Li Fan to a black Iveco. Genie Guard Yan Kai, Zhongyang. He had Li Fan raise his badge with him and wave it at the front passenger seat. The back door of the Iveco immediately opened. In this gloomy parking lot, the atmosphere was like a horror movie. Li Fan roughly understood Yan Kai's meaning. The two of them got into the back and the door closed by itself. The interior of the car was completely enclosed. One could not even see their fingers in front of them. But Li Fan felt the car move as if it was moving forward. All the Genie Guards below the rank of Qinhu can only use this method to return to the branch. Yan Kai used 1,000-mile sound transmission to inform Li Fan. Li Fan did not reply. After all, he did not know how to use sound transmission. Li Fan sat in the car with his eyes closed. But he released the qi in his body. Although the car was completely enclosed and there was no way to use qi to probe the outside, but the space inside the car could be explored. Li Fan's qi filled the car. His control of qi was getting better and better. Like sound waves, he could probe the surrounding objects. His crane hand, also known as immortal crane flapping wings, relied on this principle to send the objects that entered the range of his qi flying. At this time, the qi filled the car. Li Fan was surprised to find that there was another person in the back of the car. Chapter 205. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes. The true qi in his body was thick and full. His eyes were like the cold stars in the night, shining brightly. Yan Kai, who was sitting opposite, also closed his eyes to rest. He felt a trace of hostility from Li Fan and opened his eyes. In this dark carriage, he could see Li Fan's pair of starry eyes. Yan Kai could not help but murmur in his heart. This man's inner force was quite profound and pure. He was a few years younger than him and looked like a high school student. He did not know how he cultivated. He estimated that his talent was only a little bit lower than him. In terms of talent and inner force, Yan Kai believed that he would not lose to anyone. However, this Li Fan's external force was strange and ruthless. It made him suffer continuously. Where did this kid learn external force from? Did he really cultivate it himself? But Li Fan's eyes were full of hostility. Yan Kai immediately asked. What's wrong? There's someone else in the car. Li Fan said without hesitation. These words were also for the third person to hear. Yan Kai's hand immediately touched his belt. Li Fan's palm was also infused with true qi. But that person still did not make a sound. Even the sound of breathing could not be heard. Li Fan felt that something was wrong. He took out his phone and used the weak light to illuminate the space in the carriage. A man sat motionless on the seat next to him. He did not respond to Li Fan and Yan Kai's gazes. Li Fan reached out his hand and pressed on his neck. He found that this person's body was cold and there was no pulse. He's dead. Yan Kai had already determined this person's condition and said. Li Fan frowned. How could there be a dead person in the carriage of Genie Guard? And this person was wearing the uniform of Genie Guard. Obviously, he was also a member of Genie Guard. Could it be that he died in an accident while carrying out a mission? Don't worry about him. At this moment, a voice came from the loudspeaker in the carriage. The driver obviously knew that they found the dead person. He said to them through the loudspeaker. He's a traitor of the embroidered uniform guard. I'm responsible for sending his corpse back to the branch. The driver did not seem to notice the expressions on their faces, as he continued, the Imperial Secret Service has strict rules, and no traitors are allowed. The two of you can take it as a warning. Alright, turn off your phones. There was no signal here at all. The car probably had a signal jammer or something. Although it was a little uncomfortable to be with a dead person, in order to infiltrate the Genie Guard, Li Fan still turned off his phone. If there was a signal, he could use his phone's GPS to find the location of the branch. After that, the two of them did not speak again. After more than 20 minutes, they finally arrived at the legendary branch. When the car door opened, the two of them were still in a parking lot. However, this parking lot was relatively empty, and there were no cars parked there. It seemed to have been built for the sake of secrecy. Come on, let's take the elevator up. Yan Kai had been here before, so he was familiar with the place. He led Li Fan into an elevator. The interesting thing about this elevator was that it did not go up, but it went down. Li Fan didn't know which floor he had descended to, but he felt that the elevator had reached the place after a while. It shouldn't be deep. This place is a bit too deep. Li Fan looked around. The surrounding space was very big, and it seemed to have an antique architectural style. There were red walls and green tiles everywhere. Those who did not know would think that they had come to an ancient house. The place they just entered was a very long hall. Above the hall was a blackboard with a long list of names. Li Fan took a look. His name was at the bottom, not in a very conspicuous position. His eyesight was good. Although he was far away, he could clearly see the words on the board. Li Fan, male, 18 years old, identity, student, advanced level. Kung Fu, unknown. Although this information was not complete, it basically summarized his situation. However, the Kung Fu section was really funny. The 7 heroes fished that he used was still unknown to the world. But Li Fan believed that it would not be long before this name would spread all over the world. Li Fan had the confidence of a teenager. They were not the only ones here. There were a few Genie Guards walking past them. Li Fan noticed that these Genie Guards were dressed differently. The most ordinary Genie Guards were like Li Fan and Yan Kai. Their clothes were mainly black and red. Basically, they had a black shirt and pants, with a long red waistcoat. They were not the lowest level Genie Guards. The lowest level was the small flag, who only wore a black shirt. And they were the Zongqi, whose rank was slightly higher. Because of the change of dynasties over the years, the ranks of the Genie Guards were also reduced. Above the Zongqi were the Baihu, then the Qianhu. Above the Qianhu were the commanders, and above them were the legendary 4 great black guards. Li Fan had seen the clothes of the Baihu before. The red waistcoat had golden patterns on it, and the clothes were more exquisite. But Li Fan did not know about the Qianhu and the commanders, but the clothes and waistcoats of the black guards were all black. Only the waistcoat had golden edges. After taking a few steps forward, Li Fan saw the armory. There were all kinds of cold weapons. There were knives, spears, sticks, axes, hooks, and forks. There were no hot weapons. The government probably would not equip these martial artists with them. On the left, there was a prison system that wasn't very big. There was a monk locked up in this prison. He was stout and sitting there, he was like a small mountain. "Wine, hurry up and bring me wine." The monk slapped the wall.
His voice was like a bell, shaking Li Fan's ears. "You 2 little dolls, come here and bring wine to Lord Zheng. Is this how you treat your guests?" The monk's eyes fell on Li Fan and Yan Kai. He immediately shouted at them. "What are you shouting for?" And genie guard in front of the prison door took out his long saber and knocked on the bars, warning, "This is a prison, not a guest room. Shut up. Give me wine and I will shut up." The monk was still shouting. Yan Kai whispered to Li Fan. "Don't think that this monk is crazy. He is one of the famous 7 freaks of the pugilistic world. His nickname is Ox Monk. His physique is really like that of a strong bull. This guy is hard to catch. He is my welcome gift to the genie guard." Yan Kai was a little proud. Li Fan could not help but ask. "How did you catch him?" "Well, when I bumped into him, he was already drunk." Yan Kai chuckled. "I brought it over while I was at it." "Damn you," Li Fan rolled his eyes. He was the one who took advantage of him. Did they really think that he had been captured through a fierce battle? Just when the 2 of them were staring at Ox Monk, a Baihu walked over and called Yan Kai. "Why are you still here? The commander is waiting for you."
Chapter 206. The commander is very angry. The Baihu looked at Yan Kai with disdain. "You should go and see him." With that, he turned around and walked away, muttering to himself. "TSK, what Wudong Mountain genius disciple? He is only so-so. If this was 2 years ago, I would have beaten him until his teeth fell all over the floor." Yan Kai pointed at his back and said. "What about now? Now that I have gained some enlightenment, I can bear with this kind of small matter. Fuck, this guy is really shameless." Li Fan curled his lips and silently rolled his eyes. With this uniform and badge, Li Fan was unimpeded in this branch. In Yan Kai's words, there were at least 800 embroidered uniform guards in the world. Moreover, there were people in every branch, and they often visited other branches. The only way they could identify each other was through their badge. The badge that Yan Kai helped to steal belonged to another branch of the embroidered uniform guard, so it was easy to deal with. "You walk around here, I will go to the commander's office, it's just up ahead." With that, Yan Kai strode towards the office, without a trace of guilt in his heart. And the reason Li Fan came to the embroidered uniform guard was to study this organization. He walked around the hall. Many of the rooms were locked, obviously not allowing outsiders to enter. However, there was a door with the words "Information Room" that was unlatched. Li Fan pushed the door open and walked in, only to find a pile of documents on the shelf. After all, this was a government department, so the collection of information here was really rich. Li Fan even saw some martial arts manuals on a shelf. Li Fan randomly picked one up. It was a Huashan sword technique, and it was a precious handwritten copy. If he took this out, he would definitely be able to sell it for a lot of money. However, Li Fan was not interested in sword techniques. When he turned his head, he saw a familiar cultivation technique on the shelf. Minor phaseless technique. Li Fan was really too familiar with this technique. He had fought with Li Wenjue a few times and was badly beaten by this technique. He extended his hand, and the minor phaseless technique landed in his palm. He began to flip through it carefully. There was a detailed method of circulating the cultivation technique, but Li Fan was just curious. He did not really intend to learn this martial art. After all, his body had already absorbed the minor phaseless technique and fused it with the heaven-swallowing toad. There was no point in learning more. Li Fan put the small phaseless divine art back and saw another book that interested him even more. The personal information of the undying evil Buddha. Was the embroidered uniform guard really a fortress? They even had something like this. Li Fan immediately took the document and began to flip through it quickly. It recorded the story of the undying evil Buddha. It said that the undying evil Buddha was a person from a small village. As a result, the village was caught in the flames of war and everyone was slaughtered. Only the 5-year-old undying evil Buddha survived. Alone, he almost begged all the way to Shaolin Temple and became a disciple of Shaolin Temple. But at the age of 13, he killed his master and senior brothers, including the abbot of Shaolin Temple at that time. He stole the secret manuals from the Sutra Depository and escaped into the pugilistic world. At the age of 18, he came out of seclusion and became known as the Evil Buddha. He fought his way into the martial arts assembly that year, defeated all the heroes, and took the position of the chief of the pugilistic world. But after he became the chief of the pugilistic world, he caused a foul atmosphere in the pugilistic world. In the end, several experts of the pugilistic world worked together to oust him from the position of chief. He fled into the mountains and hid. 10 years later, the 28-year-old evil Buddha came out of seclusion again. This time, he brought a real bloodbath to the pugilistic world. Revenge and slaughter filled the pugilistic world back then. This lasted for 50 years. For a whole 50 years, the evil Buddha still maintained his youthful appearance and did not age at all. Many experts fell victim to his evil hands and were sucked dry. And with this martial art, he obtained the title of the undying evil Buddha. Finally, after 50 years, the people of the pugilistic world could not stand his tyranny and rose up in revolt. At that time, all the heads of all the sects were mobilized and killed the undying evil Buddha at all costs. And the Vairocana Heart Sutra that the undying evil Buddha practiced was also submerged in history and the pugilistic world, and disappeared without a trace. But there was a saying that it was buried together with the treasures of the Ming dynasty, and the secrets were left in the imperial jade seal. These records were not different from what he knew. Li Fan was absorbed in reading, and suddenly a fragrance floated to him. Li Fan immediately turned his head and saw a familiar figure coming in. A beautiful one-eyed woman just glanced at Li Fan casually, and then picked up a document to study. Li Fan's heart skipped a beat. Damn, isn't this heartless Saber Yushi? Damn, why is she in this place? If she finds me, I'll really die. Li Fan immediately pretended that nothing had happened. He first bowed respectfully to Yushi, and then casually read other documents. Yushi didn't know what she was looking for, and she didn't leave for a long time. And Li Fan was getting more and more anxious. He didn't know how Yan Kai was doing. Would the genie guard let him go if he didn't complete the task? Although he had made a solemn vow before, at this moment, Li Fan was still a little nervous. Last time he was able to defeat Yushi, it was because she had suffered a serious internal injury. But now she seemed to have recovered. Would he be able to fight her if she was in her heyday? What's more, this was the branch of the genie guard, and he didn't know how many masters were here. He must not alert the enemy. Thinking of this, Li Fan decided to leave the data room first. Li Fan plucked up his courage and put the information back on the shelf. Then, he strode out. He was getting closer and closer to the exit. Yushi didn't seem to notice him. Great. I should be more serious, I should be more careful when checking the information. Li Fan muttered as he came to the door of the data room. His hand was placed on the door handle, and his sleeve was pulled. Li Fan jumped quickly, and his true chi seemed to explode automatically, flowing quickly in his body. Li Fan turned his head and saw Yushi pointing at the hem of his clothes. There was some white dust on it. Was this woman a bit of a neat freak? Li Fan immediately bent down and patted off the dust. As expected, Yushi didn't pursue the matter and let Li Fan leave the data room. After he left the data room, he almost let out a long sigh of relief. Damn, it's really too scary. If they really fought, would it be good? Li Fan subconsciously walked towards the commander's office, and a loud roar came from the office. Yen Kai. I can't let you leave alive today. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.